What's up, guys? How are we doing? I want to verify that my audio works. We were having some issues last time. I had to restart the stream and come back. So let me know in the live chat, in the live stream, how I sound and if you can hear me. Welcome to the show, Rex Jones, Gray Area Talks. Tonight, we're going to have a phenomenal guest on the show. We're going to have Dominic Michael Tripi on. He's a political analyst, he's a writer, strategist, commentator, breaking news, CEO of World Independent News, and that's WIN. It's Win Network. So we're going to have him on. He's been doing phenomenal play-by-play coverage of the Iran war as it develops, as have I, to be fair. I've been in the chair since the night that it happened, and it was day over there, but it was nighttime for us. And we're going to go over what's going. Oh, awesome. Awesome. Y'all can hear me. Thank you for being here tonight, guys. You know me, I'm a bit of a slow starter, but I need just a little bit of time to get warmed up here. Thank you, Angie. I appreciate it. Thank you, AC. Anabolic Dana White. You know, I like people with good usernames, man. And I miss my old YouTube. Conor McGregor was never my friend. You ever see me on like an MMA Guru video from like a couple years ago? You'll see that username in the comments. I'm the most proud, of all the social media things, right? Like Twitter's cool and whatever. YouTube is awesome. YouTube's really cool. Um, Getting a YouTube comment to a few thousand likes will make you feel like you're the man. That stuff's awesome. So really miss that handle, great handle, anabolic Dana White. But we're gonna do war coverage tonight. And it is a war, no matter how many people go, well, 1973 War Powers Act. We're not acknowledging that tonight because Trump doesn't acknowledge it himself. We're going to get into all of it. The Gulf is on fire. Bahrain, Dubai. Oh, is he joining the studio? All right, we got Dominic joining us here in 1 second. And I just want to remind you guys, if you don't follow him already on X, you're going to want to go ahead and do that. He does phenomenal play-by-play coverage of this and other breaking and developing news stories, especially relating to the war. And I think that me and him have both been terminally online. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and add him to the stage. How are we doing, man? Oh, I'm having some audio issues real quick. Having some audio problems on my end. Oh, man. Not sure what that is. I apologize. I can't hear you. I just don't have audio. Dang it. Let me try something.
I bet you can hear me now.
Beautiful, man. How are you doing? That's always like that. That scares me so much whenever it's mute for a little while, but that holy sound comes through. How are you doing, bro?
I'm good, man. Here, I'm fixing the old StreamYard thing here.
No, you're all
Camera
good.
was a little off, but I think we're all right. And now we're good. I'm doing well, man. How are you?
I'm all right. I'm just sitting here in the news cycle and the news storm. I think we've all been monitoring the situation. You know what I mean? I've been trying to spend less time on the phone, but it's hard.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, man. I think that it's funny. Being terminally online, I think, is objectively not a good thing. But unfortunately, when you're in this business, it's just gonna be part of the game, man, especially during
Sure.
weeks like this. I mean, you just kind of have to be locked in. And also, only until this specific conflict has it been such a huge problem to actually decipher what information that you're seeing is actually real,
Yeah,
especially
with
with
the
tons of
AI.
these AI videos, people using old videos from before. It's been stressful to actually cover it. So I'm sure has that been this have you
Oh
experienced the
yeah.
same
Well,
thing?
I mean, when I was first covering it in the morning, I was reacting to some videos, and one of the videos was from a freaking video game, not even AI. And I
Yeah.
had to immediately, in the same like 5 minutes, be like, "Whoa, all right, retraction, full retraction. I'm sorry, I apologize. I'm not an expert." And you have to do that, unfortunately, or fortunately. It's so prevalent out there right now.
Well, see, the thing is that, oftentimes you're even seeing pretty legitimate outlets, or, accounts on X that are,
RT has burned me. RT's burned me multiple
yeah,
times,
RT
for
is one
example.
that'll definitely, they do post some misinfo quite a bit. But like,
Yeah.
you'll see a lot of great accounts. And I mean, to be honest with you, a lot of these videos, especially ones in Kuwait or Bahrain or what have you, they're not using a brand new iPhone. The quality of the image is questionable to begin with. You're thinking to yourself, these areas have had constant conflict for decades at this point. Could this be footage from a different year? Is this from the 12-day war in the summer of 2025? I mean, that's
Right.
why now more than ever, you really need to put, you need to be you need to be careful who you're actually following, and you have to use trust in people that that you've relied on in the past. But people's trust and their reliability is really being tested in this new environment more than it ever has been before.
Sure. I mean, for me, I'm just a truth seeker, right? And I'm learning on how to educate myself further in that process, especially in a time where they say, fog of war and all of that. And I didn't really understand what that meant until now, because it's just new information every 5 seconds. I'm used to having to look for stories throughout the week and then putting those stories together and trying to form a narrative about the political culture or what's going on right now or what right or issue is at stake. And the entire world is on fire, and I don't even know where to begin because every time I refresh or I go to a news source or whatever, like, go do the traditional process I've done for like over a decade. It's just something new pops up, and I'm like, what just got lit on fire? What base just got destroyed? What weapons stockpile just got depleted? What are you talking about? They just killed the Pope. What are you talking about? So it's a new experience for me, and I got to say, I do have a lot of respect for the people that are really covering the story well. I think you're covering the story of the war well. I think Suleiman is doing a really good job. I've been heavily in those spaces, and there are people that disagree with each other in there and whatnot. But I've gotten a lot of the breaking news coverage on there and stuff that was later confirmed that initially wasn't. Rumors and stuff and whatnot. And some of that's valuable, some of it's not. But the thing is, I've been trying to stay connected and informed, and I know that you have. And I know that people are massively interested in this. So, what is your? I know we got like three or four or five major stories, takeaways, like intelligence briefs for tonight for the audience and for us to go through. What's the main thing that's shocking you the most that nobody's talking about right now?
Well, I mean, I think that the most shocking thing has just been Iran's response in general. I think
Sure.
that when you're talking about facing the military might of the United States, I mean, I think that Trump and I think most of the leadership in this country figured we'd bomb the hell out of them in the first few days. We'd take out their
Bomb
leadership
the head
just
out
as
of
we
them.
did. We took out the supreme leader, and we figured that there'd probably be an uprising, or there'd be the Kurds, or whoever else would try to, have an internal uprising in the country, take over the government, and that would be that. He thought it'd go Venezuela style, but
Sure.
instead of it being more like Venezuela, it's appearing for it to be more like Vietnam. These people look, by all appearances, like they are truly ready and willing to fight to the death. And as you see, I mean, they're repeatedly hitting bases throughout the GCC countries, to the
Right.
point where I don't think that the United States anticipated this. I don't think that we had the defense munitions necessary to continue to endure this. But I mean, make no mistake, the US is crushing them. We just hit some of their critical oil infrastructure today. And as you see in some of the videos we're probably about to watch, I mean, Tehran is on fire. So make no mistake, the United States will win this eventually if it's just going to be firepower versus firepower. But the thing is, the way that Iran is using asymmetrical warfare, they're hitting economic centers in the Gulf that is going to really pressure our key allies, to pressure the US to stop this. Because the places, the UAE and Qatar and the other countries in the Gulf, they don't have the populations with a tolerance for warfare like this. They moved
Sure.
in those areas specifically to have areas for expatriates to enjoy, economic oases. And now people don't feel safe. It's causing, regional disruptions. And yeah, I think that the way they're going about it is really the only way they could in order to try to stop the US.
Well, isn't it interesting that he's like totally going for broke here? Because if you use all these weapons, if you use all these munitions after the years long conflict in Ukraine, where we've basically already depleted our stockpiles of these things on record, you're really saying like this is our number one foreign policy objective, is to make that country fall. Because if something was to happen right now with China and Taiwan, what are we supposed to do? Even if we can bomb Iran and win and do the whole thing and blah blah blah, we don't come out of it anything less than a pauper. And I think that that's obvious to anyone that follows these developing geopolitical stories. It's just we don't have the munitions. I saw Rubio talk about it. He's like, yeah, in the time it takes for us to build one bomb, they make 100. So like, what are you going to do ultimately? And I saw a report. I think it comes from Wall Street Journal or one of the big papers. It comes from a paper of record. saying that the estimate is that they've only destroyed half of the Iranian missiles. And Trump had come out and said, we destroyed 90% and 83% of their drones. It's true. We've got it all. And I think it's very obvious to everyone that this is just beginning. It's not over, like they say.
Well, I mean, yeah, man. As far as all reports indicate, and just from what we can observably see, there was very little planning going into this. Like I said, they
Zero.
thought it was going to be like Venezuela, and it certainly has not. And so, as far as vulnerabilities throughout the globe in United States strongholds or Ukraine or wherever else, of course, we're vulnerable now. And like you said, Rubio admitted this, but just in the 12-day war last year, the United States reportedly expended almost 25% of their global supply of THAAD defense missiles. And so those numbers now are top secret, but you can imagine through this war so far, just in the last 7 days, we're wasting valuable, critical United States munitions on behalf of another country, leaving ourselves, like you said, extremely vulnerable. If something, God forbid, were to ever happen to where there was even an attempted invasion on the mainland United States, truthfully, the way that things are going, I don't see that not being an impossibility if someone really wanted to do it. Because how thin are our assets right now? And we just sent, I don't know if you saw that we're actually sending yet another aircraft carrier over there.
Yes.
Yeah, as of last night. So, it went
George
from
H.W. Bush.
It went from, yeah, that's the one. It went from 2 days to 2 weeks to 4 weeks to 8 weeks to September. Now it's indefinite, and they're bragging about how they can fight a war for 20 years.
No, wars can last forever. You don't understand. Wars can last forever. Trump says so, and we could be in this war for decades. That's what he says. Last 2 tweets. Sorry to interrupt. The dear leader says it. We have to repeat it.
No, you're fine. It's just very clear that we don't have a plan at this point. And even for the people, I saw a tweet from you earlier saying you're disappointed that so many of these people are just war hawks now. But yeah, they're just slaves, man. Honestly, they just sort of follow the leader slaves. They don't really have true independent thought. They're going to do whatever he says. So even though they ran specifically on no wars, he called himself the peace president. He even basically demanded that he got the Nobel Peace Prize. And now we're doing an unprecedented war of choice versus people that were willing to negotiate, no matter how much the media and how much MAGA will paint Iranians as being people that are towel heads that just want to destroy the world and Israel. They have actually proven to be fairly diplomatic. They have actually, when we've had sanctions on them or we had the JCOA or whatever, it's just like they were complying. And so it's just getting to the point here where the amount of deception that's coming from our own government is really reaching COVID levels. And they're doing these hype videos like it's some joke. People are dying, man.
It's absolutely disgusting. The AC/DC football montages of people getting sacks and touchdowns, and they have a drone strike, blowing up a building or God knows what. And here's the thing. I forget the guy's name. The chief guy during the Nuremberg trials who tried everyone, he said a war of aggression is the cardinal war crime, because all other war crimes are contained in the illegal war of aggression. And that's what we've done. Like that's what this is. And they say there's so many conflicting reports and people online saying it was Iranian munitions. That's what Trump said. They're very inaccurate. They blew up their own school. I don't believe that for a second. So if it's on record the school got blown up, then we initiated in the conflict with Israel when we attacked Iran. And we unalived all those little kids.
I mean, look,
so
what Trump said today about Iran blowing up their own school, that is just one of the most blatant lies I've ever heard in my life. And considering how he's behaved and what he said and just the complete blatant corruption of this second administration so far, anyone that just believes that on its face is an idiot.
Absolutely.
Clearly they didn't blow up their own school. They got bombed in the middle of the day during negotiations. So, when we already did that before the previous time. And so like the lies of this administration, they just have to stop. They're not going to. So the only thing that we can hope for is that people just stop taking, willingly taking and eating up their slop all the time. Because again, man, if they're able to lie about this, if they're able to do 1984 level It's just getting so out of hand that even now a lot of these very outwardly pro MAGA news influencers and things like that, people don't even want to tune into them anymore because they know that they're getting the news through a lens that's
Right.
obviously going to be preferential of whatever Trump is saying.
Yeah, I've seen some people watch Fox News lately, and I've wanted to like tear them away from the TV. Just stop watching Jesse Waters propagandize you. Just please don't do it. You don't have to do it. I need to do it. I need to watch Hannity on TV interview Netanyahu. And you're just like, what has been done to this country? And, I just, it's a big wake up call for me, right? Because I've been politically active for a long period of time, but really not that long, really only since like the second Obama administration. I've really been awake and aware and following news and have been interested in it and just what's been happening in the world. And I thought that people were a lot more free-minded than it turns out they actually are. And don't get me wrong, a majority of the population is totally against what's going on, but it's not as big of a majority as I had originally thought. And I think a lot of that is cultivated online with the propaganda, with the Gunther Eagleman, with the Eric Doherty, with all of these people that parrot the same type of stuff that the administration wants them to say, and they get rewarded for it. But I think a lot of it is just, people are desperate for, I guess, always the like strong man or the dear leader or whatever. And I didn't realize that, like, and it makes sense. It seems like he was out in front of our faces the entire time. Trump always had like the most potential to be that, I feel, you know?
Yeah, well, you got to understand too. I mean, and I hate that this is the case because it was marketed as, this is the home of free speech. This is the most righteous social media app ever. But
Sure.
X has just become a bot ridden GOP propaganda tool where the Trump talking points are going to be the loudest and the most algorithmically boosted things that you're going to see on there. And I mean, what can you expect when someone's the largest donor for a political candidate? Of course, when there's a war that's largely unpopular, they're going to make it seem like it's more popular than it is. And if you look at the average from all the main top polls from a few days ago, you could go on AF Post page. Shout out to those guys for the good post. But they show that at the onset of this war, it's actually the most unpopular war that we've ever had from the onset of it. But what do we always hear about, Rex? We always hear about, oh, it's 90% of MAGA. Oh, it's 85% of
Yes.
Republicans. But what they never say is that not all normal traditional Republicans is what makes up the 2024 Trump coalition. There's
Sure.
tons of independents. There's many moderate Democrats. How many of these tech guys and a lot of these Zionist guys like Sean McGuire voted for, or Bill Ackman or whoever, how many of these guys voted for the first time Republican just in 2024? Of course. And many also, we're going to talk about this war in Iran. Many people were saying that the attack on October 7th was actually allowed with what's currently happening in mind, because it sort of was the
Sure.
domino that brought the justification to do this and to actually make this strategically
I, I
possible.
think I
Because,
think that's
hold on,
plain.
this is only possible because of the fact that with October 7th, they had the justification to do an all-out war on Gaza. They took out Hamas. They took out Hezbollah and Hassan Nasrallah in Lebanon. They started bombing the Houthis. They were able to do regime change in Syria. And that's all of the dominoes that had to fall regionally right next to them in order for them to actually focus on Iran. And then they elected their president of choice in Donald Trump. They probably had suspicious assassination attempts having to do with this. And ultimately, they've either by compromise, by blackmail, or because Trump's just straight up bad, now they've forced this and we're going to war for Israel. And we are doing this entire greater Israel plan on their behalf. And you're seeing the final chess piece of it in real motion right now.
Absolutely. I totally agree. I couldn't have said it better myself. And what I was saying about October 7th, I mean, that's just like that seems to be the obvious truth. I mean, you're talking about Charlie Kirk. He said like he thought that there was like a lot of evidence that that was a stand down because you can't go anywhere in a place that's the size of New Jersey with one of the most high tech militaries on earth. They know every inch of that
Everyone's got
border.
a machine gun, man.
Yeah. I mean, that's what he said. And Ivan Ranklin, former Green Beret on my dad's show, he's like, look, they got the helicopter base 10 minutes away from where the incident happened at the music festival. If I was IDF, if I was there, if that was my job to defend the citizens, we would have been there putting lead out of the window in 10 minutes. And like
Well, look,
it's not logical. And you look at a lot of the initial deaths, a lot of the initial Israeli deaths, especially people that were off duty IDF soldiers or veterans. It was their own military. It was
I
their own
mean,
military
yeah,
doing
if
it.
you look at the pictures, they were saying that Hamas was only armed with machine guns and such. And it's like scorching the tops of vehicles the way that they are, like that's not consistent with the type of ammunition that Hamas apparently had. Look, we're not making a justification for it. The attack on the people
Certainly
obviously
not.
is bad. I don't want to see
Horrible.
anybody die, but that's the whole point of this. We're doing all of these things. We're risking American lives. We're risking our own inevitabilities in the United States because we're losing all of these defense munitions. I mean, it's just to the point to where we went into this with such little planning. I believe that it was, Trump either being coerced, blackmailed, or his just complete arrogance. And boy, it's just like, man, I was a huge supporter of Trump in the initial election in
Me
2016. I
too.
supported him in 2020. I really felt that, our country was at a teetering point with the COVID stuff. And what have we gotten? We got endless, and people like to give him a break. We got endless money printing, and we got the COVID vaccine rushed when it should have taken 9 years to develop under Project Warp Speed under his leadership. And now we're dealing with this now. I mean, this entire second administration has been about enriching his own family, expanding the global footprint of Israel, empowering other people besides ourselves, and focusing on really just, man, I could go on and on about it, but it's very, very frustrating. And I did not have high expectations for this administration, but to see it play out the way it has, I mean, just disappointing is such an understatement. It really is. I
Well, I mean,
cannot
I just
fucking believe that we're doing this right now.
yeah, I can't believe it either. It's just it's cartoon bad. That's what I like to say. Like it's beyond anything and it's cartoon bad. But we'll leave it at that. I know you have a lot of real deep dives you want to do tonight on specific topics, whether that be Bahrain. I have it pulled up right here. See, I'm not a true professional just yet. Whether that be Bahrain, whether that be Kuwait, Qatar, UAE, and then Saudi Arabia. I mean, our bases are getting destroyed, billions of dollars burning up, decades of built up logistical and supply chain support is gone. What do you see going on there?
Did you like that little I sent you a little PDF earlier. It was like a breakdown of what's happened.
Yes, yes. I need to email it to myself so I can have it up on the
I
screen. I'm
actually
gonna do
sent that. I sent that to a couple congressmen because, like, believe it or not, a lot of people. And I'm friends with I got a couple friends that are, on the inside, and a lot of
sure.
these guys, even the actual legitimate official lawmakers of our country, they have such little information, and especially with the information warfare that's going on right now, particularly pertaining to this war, it's so hard to decipher what's going on. So first of all, just a message to anybody: when you see a lot of these videos, I try not to post that many videos of this simply because I know that so much of it is being used for ulterior motives, or it's not authentic, or whatever it might be. So if I do, I try to wait until some major outlet has actually confirmed it. Maybe there's been eyewitnesses where we can sort of corroborate that the footage is feasibly real. But anyways, no, if you want to get into, what's actually, if you want to get into the sheet or kind of go over, I
Well,
lost
my
my train of thought a little bit. So
no, no,
remind
no.
me what we're going over.
No, you're all good. It's a chill stream. We're doing good coverage. We're hanging out with people. We got Andrew in the chat who says, "What do you guys think of Trump saying it was Iran's missile that blew up the school full of the little children?" We just covered that. We think it's an outrageous lie. It's an obvious lie on its
Just a
face, and it really,
treacherous, dirty lie.
yeah,
Completely fake.
it's disgusting. Yeah, but to cover that, I mean, I see the Gulf states on fire, and I see that they want into the conflict already. Everyone wants into the conflict except for the United States and Israel. And that's how I say it now. I'm going to stop saying Israel. I'm going to start saying Israel because that's how Lindsey Graham says it. That's how
Israel.
Huckabee says it. They say Israel. So the Burj Al Arab or Arab, I don't know why I said it like that. And that's like my dad. He says hijab instead of hijab for like no reason. An iconic luxury five-star hotel in Dubai is currently on fire after being struck by a one-way attack drone in the most recent wave of attacks by Iran against the UAE. So what's going on here?
So here's the whole strategy, and this is something that I had posted the first night of the attacks. and this is something I personally, this is what I believe that they're trying to do. They're trying to create so much havoc in area, like whether it be residential, whether it's critical infrastructure like gas, whether it's military radar systems or defense systems. They are trying to create havoc in the Gulf countries that actually don't have any direct ties to this military conflict, because they're trying to have them pressure the US to get out of it. And actually, if you're paying attention to reports, it's already happening, because places like Dubai, where their entire society, their entire society is built on, being economically prosperous, being safe, sort of being in an oasis in a chaotic place in the Middle East. And when they see danger like this inside of their own international airport, which is on the screen right now, yeah, man, it ruins the whole thing. So of course Dubai wants, of course the UAE, of course Qatar, of course Oman, Bahrain, all of our regional partners there, they want this to end because they can't sustain this.
Sure. And they've also just found out that they don't have a military and that they don't have reloading capabilities for their missile defense systems. They're like, hey, when are we going to get more Patriots? When is
Well,
that going to happen?
they also found out that these security guarantees that the US gave them, which allowed them the access to build bases on their soil, they're realizing that these guarantees clearly don't mean anything. And if you look at the people that were killed at the US installation in Kuwait, they actually didn't even have a normal missile, deterrence system. They only had like 6-foot walls that apparently were designed to keep out like kamikaze bombers when they run inside. So the point is they didn't have any defense versus drones. Innocent people that really aren't in combat very often ended up being killed. And yeah, it's just such poor planning, man. And I think that they really planned for maybe like Al Udeid and Qatar and maybe Israel mainland to get the majority of the drones and missiles. I don't think that they thought Iran was going to just completely pound specifically Kuwait and Bahrain, who just do not have the military deterrences to stop the unrelenting drone waves. It's the drones that are doing it.
Sure. The Shaheed, correct?
Yes. And, they're like 50 grand a piece. And I've seen footage of miles of them in the underground tunnels that Iran has. People don't realize Iran is the same size as Alaska. So
Right.
it's mountainous territory, geographically very complicated. A ground campaign there just simply doesn't work. And I saw Nick Fuentes earlier tonight, and this actually sort of corroborates some discussions that me and Owen had privately. We all think that Trump is more likely to use we'll call it a tactical nuclear weapon. I think Trump is going to use a tactical nuclear weapon before he decides just to withdraw. Because just because of his ego, he's not going to want to say, hey, this didn't work out. If anything, he's going to go up the escalatory ladder and basically ensure that we, win no matter what.
Yeah, by any means necessary, right? I didn't want to think that. What I wanted to think was that we were getting those like 50,000 troops that were deployed to the conflict, or whatever the official statement on that number of people was. I have a buddy that's been sent out there. I know numerous other people that are also making their way out there as we speak. And then I thought that we were going to try to arm the Kurds and do something up there and try to do this pincer thing. But like you say, I think Trump likes it quick and easy, at least in his mind. I think that he really he started feeling his oats after the Maduro operation, and he decided, hey, like, we're going to topple this country in 48 hours because that's what Rubio and Vance told him, or whatever. We're going to do devastating strike, and we're just going to kill the supreme leader. And once we kill the supreme leader, there's going to be a leadership vacuum, and then all the people there hate the leadership. They want to take over anyway. We're just going to help them and speed along the process. And the CIA tells me that'll work, and they tell me it's true. But a large portion, probably the vast majority of the intelligence assets in the country have already been wiped out in attempted color revolutions and conflicts that haven't gone well. And even worse than that, instead of keeping the Ayatollah, I have my differences with Scott Ritter, but I think he made an excellent point when he said this. If you want to win, if you want to actually achieve a color revolution, you want to have new regime change or new leadership in Iran, what you do is you bomb everybody, but you keep the supreme leader alive in a bunker or whatever. You don't target him, and then you make people begin to hate the weak old king on the throne. You don't kill the Pope, and that's what we did. So I just and we the areas we're hitting in Tehran are some of the areas that are highest for the resistance type people. So it's all completely without coordination, without plan. It's as bad as it could be on all levels. And I don't want to believe that they would use a nuke, but I'm sure Netanyahu is hungry to use one. I've played the clip of Jonathan Pollard on my show at least a dozen times, and every time I talk to people about this, they say it's fantastical. They say it can't be true. They say there's no way that we would allow this. But I'm like, yeah, during the Yom Kippur War, when they weren't getting arms shipments and they were in real trouble, they threatened to use nuclear weapons. And I don't think that they're like, there's no Kissinger anymore. There's no Kissinger to squash that. I don't think Trump is going to be capable of saying no to Bibi, especially, the reports that we're getting. I haven't seen a lot about Israel in the past couple of days. So if they're really getting hit and they feel threatened, they'll probably
well, Israel has a substantial media blackout in the country because there's actually reports of serious ballistic missile impacts in Haifa, Israel, as of like 30 minutes ago. But I don't want to post the videos because it's just too difficult to decipher if it's from last year or not. But there is definitely, and I do have links from days ago that show some, pictures that got sort of smuggled out of there that do show significant damage. 100%. There is video that went out and they did publicly acknowledge that an apartment building and a synagogue and some underground bunker structure got destroyed in Tel Aviv, which resulted in the death of 10 people and like 40 injuries. But the point is a lot of those stories are deeply suppressed because there's actually a temporary government law that makes disseminating that information illegal. That's why places like Al Jazeera have been kicked out of Israel's mainland for the entire time. So, but I just wanted to add one thing to what you were talking about a possible nuclear weapon. Look, it's pretty clear that there was barely any plan, but whatever the semblance of a plan was the Venezuela model. And once that didn't work, excuse me, we just decided, okay, let's carpet bomb these bastards for a full week. Yep. Today is 7 days. And what happened today on the 7th day, you started to see civilian critical infrastructure start to be targeted, which is the next step up the escalation ladder. And what you saw specifically are the reports that the United States bombed a desalination plant, which is obviously how they get fresh drinking water in a desert area, very critical. One of the most critical things that you could possibly have in that part of the world. The U.S. apparently bombed a desalination plant, which is what provides fresh water to over 30 villages in the area. And then they also, now famously, and I think we're going to see this clip, in Tehran, they bombed one of their largest oil depots, which is, of course, going to be, a huge piece.
And really quick, when I throw a clip up, I'm sorry, I'm using StreamYard. I'm going to have someone switch for me soon. There's a temporary gap because I got to mute audio. So,
dude, you're totally good. Just roll the clip so they can see the one.
Go ahead.
Yeah, this is the one right here. But anyways, what we're looking at, I'll just let it play. No, I'll just let it play.
Okay.
Because we want to, yeah, we should hear this is crazy. Some footage in this world, man, it's like too crazy to even comment on. Just look at this. This is just apocalypse. It's just hell.
Yeah, that's World War III. That's how World War III starts. And people are calling this and this is the main thing. This is the thing that pissed me off the most when this initially kicked off. I had people with the full Reddit nerd push up the glasses saying, actually 1973 War Powers Act. And I'm like, you don't know how this is going to escalate. And here we see it right here.
And also this, to the people out there that have some delusion that the U.S. bombing their country is going to make Iranians want to have civil unrest, uprise, and take over their own government. No, it actually makes them hate the U.S. If you lived in this city where Tehran is their most forward-thinking spot, they've got people that dress normal. Most of the women are virtually uncovered. A lot of these people are normal people. And if you were driving down your highway and that's what you saw, don't you think that you'd probably be more likely to unite with your neighbor that maybe has different political ideas than you? I mean, this is getting to the point where what our government is feeding us is just delusional, propagandized lies. We're saying, "Oh, we're bombing for peace." It's so
Yeah.
exceptionally ridiculous.
I mean, and look at that. Doesn't that look like, a Renaissance painting of hell or something like
Yes.
that? It's hell on earth, and we summon it. We're the ones bringing. We're rotting it into incarnation. It's
Also,
disgusting,
the
and
oil.
they'll tell you that that, like you say, it's a war for peace. It's for liberation, for justice. We got another guy in the chat saying the supreme leader was incredibly unpopular. What's more unpopular, the supreme leader or this?
Well, here's the thing too. Oil production is like a huge symbol of their like national pride.
Right.
So when you see something like this getting hit, when you see basically the only like we'll just go ahead and mince words or not mince words. When you see the only thing that really makes your country worth a shit totally be destroyed, and
Right.
your military might's the other thing, and you're seeing your whole city and everything get bombed when you're negotiating anyways, it makes people hate the US. And
Yes.
now the likelihood that leadership or an ayatollah that's actually more radical than Khamenei comes in is much higher because this is such a war-torn country now that I mean seriously though, what do you think's going to happen? It's
I
probably
mean,
only going to get worse.
yeah, I mean, to me, this is like trying to summon a nuclear weapon, either summoning one that we're going to launch ourselves or that Israel is going to launch, or making them make one. Wouldn't a nation that's going through this want to make a nuclear weapon? And they already have over 400 kilograms of uranium enriched to 60%, do they not?
No, they do. They already have stockpiles of highly enriched uranium. There's plenty of sources that say they already have a nuclear weapon. Here's the thing though. I mean, if they actually had a nuclear weapon, you would think in a situation like this, they might try to fire it. So I don't know. I don't actually think that they have one, but there are people that will tell you that they do.
Speculation, but sure, it's a topic people are talking about. I mean, this is unlike anything we've ever seen before, and it's like you say, it's a lot more akin to Vietnam than it is to Venezuela.
100%. And the main reason why it's akin to Vietnam instead of Venezuela is because of the asymmetrical warfare that we're dealing with. And in this case, it has to do specifically with drones. Everything that we're doing is with drones, or that we're doing, excuse me. Everything that Iran is doing is with drones. And well, and honestly, for us as well. But the main difference has been the fact that their intelligence has been far superior to what we had expected it to be. And there's actually reports today, I believe one of them's on my Twitter page. I want to say it's from the Washington Post that said that Iran was getting Russian intelligence, and that's why you're seeing Iran do drone strikes on places like hotel rooms. You're seeing them do drone strikes on like CIA consulates inside of embassy. Like you're seeing them hit places that normally they would never have the intelligence to hit. And I think that's been majorly concerning. And it's been reported that officials do think that's very concerning that it's been happening up to this point. They shouldn't be contending in the way that they are, but because of the effectiveness of their drones, the ineffectiveness and the extreme, just the cost situation of our defense missiles, it's making it to where it's working in their favor. And here's the difficult thing too, Russ. It's like, we're Americans. I don't want America to inflict such an amount of punishment on this country that a ton of innocent people die. I don't want to
Sure.
see more of their people die in general. I am someone that believes that different cultures, different countries have different ways of governing themselves. And as long as they're willing to act diplomatically and morally, then they have their right to rule their country the way that they see fit. And if they're not, for lack of a better word, if they're not fucking with us, then I don't see a need to intervene in their, in their affairs. And for me, with that being said, though, the United States is at a war now with them. And I am a United States citizen. I am an American.
Right.
So it's like, it's very difficult because I think this is morally unjust. I think it's a war of choice. I think it's inflicting damage on a people that necessarily don't deserve it. Even if people say they're evil, they're bad, you disagree with them ideologically, what's happening to them by the actual rules of war is unfair. And even the reason that we gave Marco Rubio saying it himself, where he had to walk it back the next day, saying, "Oh, we only struck because we knew that Israel was going to attack them, and we knew that would trigger a response from Iran on our own basis." That is not a reason to preemptively strike someone.
Sure.
So, just the whole thing as it is, the fact that it's been wrapped up in so many lies and such is just disgusting, man. And it makes it difficult to cover, because it's like, again, I want the U.S. to quote unquote win, whatever the hell that means in this instance, but I don't want what the costs of that. I don't want to incur those costs. I don't want this country to be responsible for such upheaval and death in this region that we've already seen doesn't benefit anybody. So it's difficult to cover, because people go, "Oh, yeah, what are you, on the side of Iran?" And it's like, no, but do I understand their position? Yeah, it's bullshit what we're doing.
Yeah, and the American people voted against it, but I guess that doesn't matter. And really, this is just proof of our foreign policy, and that there are no brakes on the train, that there really is no stopping it, and that, no matter who you vote for, you can't really vote against this type of thing, because it's going to happen. I mean, look at Chuck Schumer, right? I mean, the war powers thing, he makes sure that doesn't get through the Hill. So it's bipartisan, uniparty type of thing. At least on Washington, they're as united on preserving the war as the American people are at preventing it or not wanting it to happen. So it's just crazy to me. And you touched on there, you talked about the Iranian intelligence being a lot better than originally anticipated. And I would say, I don't know what we call this, like the Russia-Ukraine law, or the Iran American, or Iran Israeli law. I don't know what you describe it as. I'm sure it's happened in prior conflicts. When you have a force that's really technologically advanced, really hyper modern, really the best of what they do. Like Russia has probably the best like ground forces on earth right now because of the training in the Ukrainian battlefield. The Ukrainians had to get really good at drone warfare. They had to get really good at intelligence. They had to get really good at doing things on a shoestring budget. And even though they're still going to lose that conflict inevitably, that they've built a formidable force, and they're probably the second most dangerous military when it comes to those unconventional asymmetrical warfare methods on the earth. And you see Iran, if you have to go up against the Mossad and the IDF, you're probably going to get pretty good, right?
Well, yeah. Well, here, yeah, they've got Russian intelligence, they've got Chinese components, they've got new drones, and that's how they're actually effectively, they're evading our normal missile defenses. And that's, if you look, there's several reports, like for anyone, I can't pull it up right now myself, but if you just type in U.S. difficulty defending Iranian drones, you'll see numerous different reports talking about how whatever they've changed in these drones is making it extremely difficult for us to actually intercept them. And that's why you're seeing them. Any of the videos that anyone sees of them, they're very noticeable. They have a very high-pitched, shrill noise, and they move rather slowly. But the reason they're so difficult to intercept is because they can fly at 100 feet, just like a drone that someone else could set off themselves with their hand 7 feet from 6 feet from the ground. So it's crazy. Are you pulling up a video or something?
Yeah, no, I'm just trying to.
Should we go down the rundown? Give the audience an idea of what you're not hearing in the U.S. media and where Iran has actually struck as far as U.S. installations.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, I'm just going to run it down. So, since the beginning of the war, which was last Friday. So what is that? About the 28th, I believe, is when this conflict, the 28th of February. So in Bahrain, we have hit a U.S. naval support facility. We've hit it, I think, like 6 times, and that includes their headquarters, radars, warehouses, satellite dishes, to the point where I believe that the embassy in Bahrain has been temporarily closed. We also hit the Crown Plaza Hotel, their nicest hotel, oil refineries, civilian high rises. Iran has hit all those things in Bahrain, which is a non-combatant country that has nothing to do with this. They're doing it again to put pressure on the U.S. to stop. In Kuwait, the U.S. embassy was hit, air defenses, the operations there have been suspended as well. An Air Force base there, missile strikes, drone strikes with structural damage on the runway. Something called Camp Arifan, missile hits there. There was U.S. casualties reported. A couple other facilities, radars, things of that nature. And then also a big one, the Kuwait International Airport. So what you'll find that's pretty common in some of these things is that they're going for the airport, they're going for critical infrastructure, they're going for hotels in all of these areas because they just want to hit anywhere where it'll disrupt the normal behavior of the country, really. But just real quick, we'll go through it. Qatar. So Al Udeid Air Base, which is the largest Middle East air base that the U.S. has, they've had repeated drone strikes. Now, since Al Udeid is so much larger of an installation than most of these other places, almost all of those have been successfully intercepted, blown up, or they misfires. There also was drone attacks in some civilian areas, but like the very famous hotel in the cityscape of Qatar, that has not been hit, but there has been attempts to hit some of those resident areas in Qatar. And Saudi Arabia was a big one. They had the U.S. embassy was struck directly with a drone strike in Riyadh, and also a CIA installation reportedly within that embassy was struck. And then the Prince Sultan Air Base, some other facilities, they all had numerous missile interceptions above them, and then some oil related sites as well in Saudi Arabia. And the last one is the UAE, and I think there was a couple videos that Rex just played that were showing some of it. But the U.S. Air Base in the UAE was struck repeatedly, actually with confirmed impacts, resulting in small fires, injuries, etc. One of the most famous hotels in, I believe it's called, I can't remember what the name of it is, but U.S. consulate, the most famous hotel, the Dubai International Airport, many different seaports and oil infrastructure, and then also some other places in Jordan and Oman. I mean, they've struck a ton of places, and I don't think that of any of this list I just read off, I think maybe the U.S. expected a tenth of this, truthfully.
Sure. And does that come from them just gassing themselves up and believing that I guess everyone's a third rate power, everyone's a caveman compared to us? Because it just, you look at the facts and the numbers across the board, they have a massive population. They have a lot of really smart people. They're known for having engineers and technical specialists. And you have 20 years of, or really 30 years of a threat of imminent invasion from the West, really at any time. Of course, they're on Wesley Clark's list of 7 countries in 5 years as the marquee country at the end of the line to take. So they've known this has been coming forever, and I think it really proves the point that if you are one of these, if you're one of these smaller powers, if you invest in the missile technology and you invest in defense, I think that the Soviets really pioneered that during the Cold War, and other countries have adopted it. The U.S., a nation that's invested so heavily in air power and really the highest tech things possible, not really focusing on volume. I think they're showing you can actually put up a fight by targeting critical infrastructure. And I mean, it's just like, who wants it more, right? Because the United States of America, it's like a pimp walking down the street. It's decked out in gold and purple and leather and everything. And then Iran is like, a person that has no shoes. But all they got is a rusty pocket knife, but they're going to use that and they're going to take everything you have because you want to lose it more, or you care about losing it more. They don't care. They're going to throw caution to the wind and literally do anything that they can to prolong the conflict. So, I mean, we look at these images and we're all kind of, we got that X head on us. We've been looking at this stuff on social media for such a long period of time that it's somehow normalized in our brain. This is hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars of damage in a lot of different places.
I mean, absolutely. And I think that as far as how we got ourselves in this situation, I think much of it stems from just complete over arrogance. I think Trump really is over his skis because he thought a certain way about himself and our forces because of what happened in Venezuela. And it was just so seamless. It was just so good. They used the discombobulator and there was the whole thing. And it's like, it just, none of it, we really thought that it was going to go the same way. And, there's really something to be said, Rex, about the matter of political will and a fighting force that really believes in what they are doing. And I think that these Iranians are hardcore, man. And I think that they're driving down their street and they're seeing literal hellfire among them. And they're thinking to themselves, the soldiers around there, it's like, it's an existential crisis for their country. And if they're on the part of the, Islamic government side of it, then they have a whole religious attachment to it.
It's a holy war. It's
The
a holy
equivalent
war
of
for
their
them.
pope was just killed. And so,
Yes.
of course, they're thinking to themselves, like, I'm going to fight as hard as possible. And again, it's like, that's the reason why, you know, the back in the day, the quote unquote suicide bombers were people that were from this region. Americans just
Yeah.
don't have the same ideology as this. And I don't blame them, because that's not normal. It's weird. It's bad. But at the same time, it's like, I just think that we sort of bit off a little bit more than we can chew. And I hate the fact that our options, the longer this goes on, the options become more extreme, and none of them are good, because the likelihood of U.S. boots on the ground, I'm just going to go ahead and call it right now. The U.S. boots are going to be on the ground
Yes.
at least within 30 days, if not something more like 10. Okay. He wants to put boots on the ground. Maybe it'll be first as, oh, we're doing special forces to key in on critical nuclear sites.
They're saying the nuclear facilities. Yes.
That was reported today in Semaphore. But what it more than likely will be is 50,000, 100,000, whatever it is, all aligned up on the Western Iranian border. And
Into the
I don't know
mall.
what else the people expect is going to happen. It's either going to be ground forces or a tactical nuclear weapon. We are not going to de-escalate, especially just out of a matter of pride, which is very scary.
Yes. Yeah, no, absolutely. And the Iranian soldiers that have just seen that their pope get martyred, they're not doing Fortnite dances for TikTok. They're not doing hype montages in the barracks. They are out there staring at the fires with like anger in their heart, thinking about killing Americans. And like, is that not for them at least a justified response? Isn't that what you would expect? Our arrogance of like, it's like the CIA and our own DOD and the State Department, they fool themselves with their own propaganda. And they're like, of course, the Iranian women are just waiting to take off the hijab and to put on the stripper outfit and start the OnlyFans. We just have to make it happen for them, and they want to do it. I'm sure people that may have been inclined towards feeling that way, people that might have been more liberal, I'm sure this has radicalized them.
I'm sure that it has. And I'm sure that Trump saying things like the only solution is unconditional surrender. I mean, you
Yes.
know what that actually means? When he elaborated today, it means that, you know, look, it means that a lot of
We
people
own
are
you.
going to die, and they're really going to fuck up this country to the point where it's just not necessary. And for what? That's the thing they can't even answer. They go back to the same fake plastic answers that any sort of GOP strategist would tell you, which is, well, they're the biggest state power of terror, and clearly they were posing a threat to Israel and our allies in the region.
That's right.
And
That's right.
it's never about any imminent threat to the United States. And it's obviously what they never bring up the very most is that these people were willing to negotiate. They were actually even willing to not enrich any uranium at all. And so it's like, we're doing this on behalf of Israel. It is a regional power play for them to gain hegemony over the entire region. And what people also don't understand is once Israel becomes this global superpower that they fully intend to become, what happens for the United States? Then it stops being so much about fake greatest ally, and it becomes number one rival and enemy that has a bunch of anti-Semites in it that we're monitoring everything they do and say, and about to impose some of the largest, most critical censorial laws upon us.
Yes.
It's like, you can tell what's coming. Because right before this, what did they start declaring by law? They basically started associating opposition of Israeli military actions as crimes in the United States. If you criticize this behavior or you protest against this behavior, specifically Israeli military action in the United States, if you do this, if you protest this, it is against the law on campus of all public U.S. institutions in the U.S. So they have already set the precedent for the fact that, oh, you don't like what we're doing over here? Well, you're a fucking criminal. It's clear. So it's, people don't understand what we're in for. You don't like what's happening? You're a fucking criminal. That's where they're going with this.
Yeah, it's outrageous. I don't think it's going to go the way they think, because I don't think they're going to win this one. I don't care about how completely obliterated the missile defense is, XYZ, blah, blah, blah. They will not be satisfied until there is a puppet king or a puppet ruler of that region, or it's just in complete chaos. And Netanyahu literally runs it. And I don't think the 92 million Iranian people are going to let that happen. So inevitably, we do have to put boots on the ground or drop the nuke. I think putting boots on the ground is far more likely. And I think the numbers we see out of the American public, which are about 2/3 of the American public, are against this. I think that's going to go rapidly to 3/4 or 4/5, and then it's going to be over. This really, it forces everything to the forefront because, and I've often said this, the left wing, they can't support this on grounds of they're anti-colonialist on their face. They
Humanitarian
view
issue.
Israel as, the extension of all the identity politic discrimination they've ever talked about. And on the right wing, we can't do it because we're a sovereign country. Why are we doing this for them? Why are we fighting these wars for them? It's not our responsibility. It's not nationalistic. It's not pro-America at all. So we look at it on one hand, and the right wing goes, well, these wars of colonial aggression aren't for us or for our benefits. So why would we sign on to it? That's kind of the Flintonian perspective. And then on the left wing, they're like, this is what we've always talked about. You're asking us to support ultimately apartheid. Right. So it's just, it doesn't work, especially for the younger people in the modern American mind. But you see some of these clips of these mega church pastors like that Hagee guy, and he's like, we're here to serve Israel. And Gog and Magog are Russia and China, and they are about to fight. We must serve Israel. And I mean, I'm sorry, like I've caught my grandparents watching Jesse Waters and watching Fox News and watching some of this stuff. And I'm just like, what are you doing?
Real quick. So you're talking about reasons. You talked about left wing reasons to oppose the war. You talked about right wing reasons to oppose the war. Well, notice that we're not getting any of these right wing reasons to oppose the war from our own elected representation because we don't have a right wing in America. We have a captured government by foreign and special interests, by pro-Israel interests, by transnational finance and other Jewish tentacles that are involved in things. And that's just the truth, man. We are a owned government. And, people say this, and I thought about this a little bit before I came on the stream, because I know that, people view this term as sort of a pejorative, but I mean this in the most technical sense. The United States, if you look at it by all observable definitions, is legitimately a Zionist occupied government. And you are seeing that right now. All of those things are indicative of what I just said, because we are using our military forces on behalf of another country for reasons that benefit them, and almost not at all do they benefit the United States.
Right.
And now I'm so concerned that our president is so full of himself and his own propaganda that when people say the most far-fetched things like, oh, Mr. President, Iran is who tried to kill you, he thinks that that's actually the case. Yes. And so all these polls, everything that is the most absolutely hyper-partisan, tilted information to be pro-Trump, those are the only things that he has been presented. And now, in his old age, his arrogance already 10 out of 10, it's becoming a point of actual delusion to where he's like, I'm the most popular ever. These bombs are peace. Everything is fantastic. Yes. I'm the fucking king. He even says he doesn't care about gas prices, doesn't care about polls. He's saying things that are just they're unbelievable. And they're indicative of someone that has at the least changed and at the most has become straight up evil. This is ridiculous. And I'm very glad that, not to talk about him too much, but I'm glad that your dad had some pointed criticism at Trump this week. I'm glad that people like Matt Walsh, some people that traditionally don't really give, Trump a ton of hate. This is the time. If we can't criticize someone when they're making decisions that are this bad, you might as well turn off the political, turn off the news, throw on the sports, drink a beer, and just stop giving a shit. Because if you cannot have the balls to oppose what very clearly is the exact opposite what we were promised, and many of the whole reasons why we wanted to get involved in the MAGA movement to begin with was to oppose corruption, to oppose Middle East wars, to literally drain the swamp. And now what is happening? The swamp is more venomous and full and active and militant than it's ever been. Donald Trump is the one that is leading it and bolstering it by the day.
He is the swamp. He is the swamp incarnate. And this is the thing that people don't want to believe. But once you get far away enough to see the forest for the trees, it's what you start to understand. He is the capstone. He is the finishing touch on this American system. He is the person that's been willing to drive the car. And the car was always there. We look at these past presidents, we criticize them, and we look at them as totally controlled. And they are, to be fair. No one was willing to believe the delusional lies that they were ready to feed him more than this man. That's why we're at war right now. And you think about Thomas Crooks, and you think about the other guy who was in Ukraine recruiting Afghanis to fight for Zelensky against the Russians, and somehow that becomes an Iranian plot to kill the president. Of course, it's total BS. And of course, when that happened to Trump, one of my main reasons for wanting Trump to get into office is like, okay, let's find out who did this assassination. Right. And if he's willing to look into that, we'll look into Kennedy, we'll look into Martin Luther King Jr. and all of it.
Notice he never even showed any interest into finding out anything more about his assassination.
Isn't that bizarre?
Because somebody put him in a room and said, it was us. We whizzed it past your head. If you fucking don't listen to us again, we won't miss next time.
Right.
That's what I think. And that's what actually happens in this cold, dirty ass world of politics that nobody wants to talk about. Of course, there's somebody that's over him at this point. He is acting like a person that is not in control, that is under threat. Sure. And he has been the entire time. That's why he's acted like a completely different person after he got in. I mean, for people to continue to willingly ignore this deception, seriously, though, he was talking about himself as the pro-peace, everything, and to start doing this. Also, the slide backs on immigration. The betrayals openly, repeatedly, and we're still going to be told to our face this is the golden age, when it's really us being sold out, the middle class being purposefully dismantled and destroyed, the wealth gap increasing to such a degree that people are living almost in a different country, even though they live in the same neighborhood, depending on with their age or things of that nature. So it's just like what this man is doing, and what's most disappointing is the way that he has neutered people's thirst for actual honesty and authentic truths. He has made it to where it's, I didn't bomb the school. It was probably Iran. Okay, Colt. It's whatever he says has become the truth. And people don't understand how dangerous of a precedent this is set, because whether we want to admit it or not, the majority of the people that vote in this country are over 60 years old. And if they're all this fucking dumb and can be led astray by just some dude with a bombastic personality and a cool, funny demeanor, we're fucked. Honestly, man, people really should be worried at this point, because if this is what our right-wing government gets us, if we elect them, our country's fucked. It's only a matter of time. And it sure seems to be that time is coming sooner, with all these irresponsible decisions and waging war when you have no plan.
Yeah, I mean, he's like the guy that reads the numbers at the bingo hall, right? I mean, that's who Trump is. He's the guy that reads the numbers at the bingo hall. And ultimately, it is most of the boomers. Okay. I've been picked up in Uber rides, and I've literally talked to the guy for like 30 seconds. Oh yeah, politics. You vote for Trump? Yeah, I voted for Trump. This is like just when he got in, or maybe a little before that. I think he was president-elect. And within 1 minute, it's, so you're ready to go fight for Israel, aren't you, young man? And I'm like, whoa, where does this come from? This is like a 300-pound, 65-year-old, disgusting slob creature of a man driving around in a Honda Civic. He has food bags in his passenger seat, and he's got death and war for Israel on his mind. He's got plans for me, not for himself, of course. He can't get up, but for me, he wants to go send me to war. And I wanted to talk. I wanted to say something, but I'm like, hey, these people are crazy. If I do, he might swerve the car, for Netanyahu at the end of the day.
Yeah, man. No, it's just like, I'm not sure how much longer we are going to just act like what this group of people that continue to support this like neoconservative slave-minded bullshit. Are we, I just consider myself an independent. I consider myself, a right-leaning independent. I have voted for Trump 3 times, but look, I'm never going to vote Democrat. That's for sure. But at the same time, where are we going from here? Because it seems to me that we've really abandoned all of our principles. Like, this was kind of one of the last frontiers for still, having major deportations, for having any sort of legislation that was majorly going to shift the direction of the country. Like, if we weren't going to have bold action and disruptive policy under someone like Trump, then what do you think that JD Vance is going to be more hardcore, or whoever comes next?
Man.
Like, it's the opposite. That's why I just think right now, and it's like, not to black pill people long term, but I don't really see a light at the end of the tunnel as far as how we're going to get ourselves into a situation where our government is significantly less corrupt and is actively working for the American people, not for multinational mega corporations, not for Israel, not for defense contractors, not for everybody that already has it made in the shade, but for people that are trying to advance their lives and still live the American dream. That is my number one concern, because I see young people these days and they don't know where the hell to go next.
It's brutal.
They don't know how to meet their biggest life indicators, like getting married and getting a good job and actually owning a home and doing what we call the American dream. And I think that as long as we live in a country with a government that makes that a very unrealistic possibility for younger people or just average people trying to get by, we can't have that, man. We need every single one of these fucking politicians to be out of their job.
Yes.
We need to make laws that are strict enough to where if you accept lobbying money of any kind, you go to jail forever. And we need to have a new system where actual righteousness and truth is our only guide, not people's pocketbooks. And it keeps happening. There's no solution until we have profound change.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I think the silver lining to this cloud is that the situation is so bad, it's going to force people younger, I'll categorize younger as under 50 years old to wake up and realize what the hell's been done to the country, because these people that are asleep at the wheel have been in charge for far too long. And here's the thing. The boomers electing these people, the people they elect are representative of the boomer, because the boomer grew up watching black and white TV or early color TV. They just see someone that looks like a politician. They go, that's my empty suit. That's the guy that represents me. Put him in office. The political system's always worked as long as I've been alive. I'm going to keep cranking the lever and doing the exact same stuff. They don't care about policy. They don't care about money from foreign lobbies like AIPAC. They don't care about wars. In fact, they like all that stuff because it's the system that they've existed in forever. Why change it? Like an old dog can't learn new tricks. I mean, these people can't learn how to not get oppressed at the end of the day. And like, we're all just begging for help, begging for it to stop. I've seen the price of everything since the time I was sentient of it, conscious of it, go up at least 3x.
So let's bring this up because it's the truth. You're talking about how these boomers or people, of a certain, we'll just call them boomers to make it easier.
Sure.
But these boomers, they have the exact wrong position. It's the generational gap, especially with politics and with desired policies, is becoming so drastic it's impossible to ignore. Because think about this. Someone like you, a guy in his 20s, do you want the absolutely inflated as fuck housing prices to go down? Yes or no?
Yes.
Of course you do. Does some 70-year-old that lives in a $785,000 house that's really worth $550, does he want them to go down or no? No. Does someone with a big 401k, a big stock portfolio, if he's got all these blue chip companies and some shit costs a little bit more, and it's $60 more for this TV, or it's however much more for your food or whatever it is, like, they don't care about that stuff because their life, they're already the benefactor of this system only because of the time that they were actually born. So everything in their life, they were able to go get a job. You could have a wife and a kid at home. You could get a house, everything. You could be a fucking plumber. And by now, if you're 67 years old and you were just a plumber, dude, you got a great, if you did it right, you bought the right real estate, bought and sold, all that stuff, your life's great. Now, if you're some 24-year-old, same position as that guy was however many years ago, you got to grind and do like fucking DoorDash just to even make your rent on top of your job.
6 different jobs, 16 hours of work a day. You sleep in the car, you wake back up, Grubhub, DoorDash, Instacart, all sorts of delivery jobs. You drive for Amazon every day like a slave in the truck.
With AI, breathing down your neck to take your next gig. You know? So yeah, it's like we live in two different entire countries, and so of course we're experiencing such a divide generationally. But then again, who fucking votes? Who votes? The people that all want it the opposite of us, they're the ones that support the Republican Party. So when you see the Republicans support this 88%, yeah, that's true. Go look at what the under 40 is. That's 20. It's like 24. So it's again, it's that drastic, by the way.
Right.
So it's just we have to have a government spread over all ages and all people and all that good stuff, but we have to have a government that works for the majority of citizens in this country. And we're going to be spinning our wheels, and we're going to be like, I can't believe this is happening every day until we start to see some of this shift, man. So the main problem is that the people that we need accountability from are the same people that are going to have to pass the laws that would actually make the country be legitimate again and the government not be corrupt. And they're never going to out themselves. The people who are the main beneficiaries from private money and from donors, they're not going to make it illegal to have donors and private money dictate their decisions. So that's the conundrum we're in. And, you know, I don't know, man. I mean, fill in the blanks. We're going to need something drastic and foundationally different for us to get out of this, in my opinion.
It takes us taking a huge L that we can't avoid or cover up or hide with makeup or whatever. It's going to take us, you know, losing this war or having a global meltdown due to the economic ramifications of preventing oil traffic going through the Strait of Hormuz. It's going to be something like that, or maybe it just all snowballs and lasts a little bit longer. I don't think things change here until people are officially just done with the political theater. And it's like you were saying earlier, I totally agree with you, right? And I was just pointing out kind of just the consciousness of the American voter or of a person that's aware of politics, what camp they lead to. Of course, the politics are all fake, and it's literally just it's a choreographed show. It's House of Cards. It might as well be Arrested Development or Parks and Rec up on the field. It's just people that are happy to be there. And it's the same example I'll give with RFK, right? Like RFK promised all sorts of wonderful stuff, and he literally won $270 million fighting Monsanto, proving that it caused non-Hodgkin's lymphoma and proving that it was carcinogenic, right? But at the end of the day, he gets invited to play on the team, be on the field, to be a politician, to be the man in charge, the man that people go, health secretary, wanting that, having the impulse of wanting that outweighs actually wanting to help the American people. And if you look at him, one of the thought to be one of the better examples of these new class of people that were either appointed or elected to government in 2024 that rode in with Trump the second or third time, depends on your view of the situation. I mean, he failed the test, so why wouldn't all the other ones fail the test, right? And it's just we sit here and we're like, what does change actually look like? How does change happen in the country when these people are in office, you know, for 4 years? And really, like only 1/3 gets voted out, you know, during that period of time, or maybe it's the 2 years for the Congress people. Maybe I'm getting it messed up. But in this system, and the founding fathers created it this way to not work super well, to grind slowly, to have the different branches fight each other. When you're in a situation where the executive branch is so overpowered and hyper overbalanced over the two other branches of government, the judicial won't do anything, and then the legislative is both too weak and not interested in doing anything. And then you have the legislative, really the one place you could affect change. You have that so occupied by either APAC money or the boomer vote or any one of these other factors that's led to the situation that we're in right now. It's just like, what do you do? What are you supposed to do? Are we supposed to wait until 2028 and try to get a new president? And that's where I understand. I don't agree with it, but I understand the Flintonian argument of like we're going to vote for the Democrats after Trump, is because like that's really the only way that you could send a negative enough signal to get them to, you know, stop doing something. I don't know.
I mean, yeah, I agree. Look, I agree. I don't feel like you know, people act like it's like your family or something, like you're betraying your family if you don't vote for the Republican Party. The truth is you should vote for people that actually have your best interests. And if you think that no one has your best interest, then don't vote. My current understanding of the way it is that our government is so unbelievably corrupt that whether you vote left or whether you go vote right, you're going to get marginally the same thing. And what I think that we need is what a lot of other countries that were on terrible paths ended up being fixed by. which is ultimately a great leader like Trump was supposed to be. Because what a great leader would do right now is first of all, he'd have the most benevolent and beneficial policies for everybody possible. But then he would literally say, he'd be writing executive orders and stuff. And then when they got shot down, he would just defy it anyways and claim presidential immunity and straight up force it. Because the types of situations and the types of the level and the degree of just total misdirection and complete, decay that our current system is, you would need someone to go in there and say, hey, I don't care that you don't want to vote for lobbying being illegal now, but that's the way it fucking is. And you can sue me or you can put me in prison after my presidential term is done. I have presidential immunity. This is official act. And we are now changing the lobbying system in this country where private money can't dictate the decisions of this body. And if anyone in it is caught, you will face the highest crimes. That's got how it's got to be, man. Because how corrupt our country is, no matter what the solution is, that has to be handled for everything else to start working. It's just the only way. So
okay, let me ask you this question, because I think that's an excellent little portion that we can do here. What's on your short list? What does that person do, in your opinion? What do they have to do?
Well, I think the immigration system in the country has to be clearly defined and fixed. And I think it has to be cut and dry that if you're not a legal citizen of the country, you got to go. Because the way, not only does it make the country less safe, but it just makes the country much worse when we have no continuity. We have no culture. We have all these strangers calling themselves American living in this place where that's just not the case.
You can't bring in 20 to 40 million people and then say, oh, it's normal. It's all the same. It's like, well, they're essential and you have to have them. And you gringo, you can't work. They have to work for you. And it's like, well, we were working just fine 5 years ago. What happened? We don't need these 20 to 40 million people. That's my main bone of contention. I'm not trying to interrupt here. Biden said, when I am elected, immediately surge the border. Let's not forget about how horrible Joe Biden was. Okay. People came to the border wearing the Biden t-shirts. So all those people at a bare minimum, that 20 to 40 million, they got to get going.
I'm just saying that the situation with legalization in the country needs to be cleaned up / fixed. So if that means that we need to get all the illegal immigrants out of the country first, and then we can, sort of reevaluate the situation, that seems reasonable to me. But also, I think we need common sense restrictions going into the future with things like AI. Instead of making deals, instead of the federal government making deals with AI companies where you're going to, make no mistake, you're going to have a future where literally the cops and soldiers are going to be robotics in AI.
I want it to be illegal.
We need to start doing things with the future in minded, to where we are putting feasible restrictions on some of these things for the betterment and the continuation of the literal human race. Because people that have no purpose, people that are not able to actually get jobs because a superior entity does your job now, and many of the jobs that humans do, we need to start safeguarding our culture and stop worrying so much about advancing when we're over our skis and we can't even protect what we have. So just think about the American life over the last 30 years. In many ways, it has gotten worse. And most of those reasons have to do with such uninhibited growth that we never actually took the time to make sure that we could protect what we still had. And most of it was fueled by greed. Sure. So I just think there needs to be policies that are centered on the American people as they are. You being able to stay in the community you grew up in, you being able to have a good enough job, you being able to have health care, a lot of these things where it's some of them are liberal ideologies, but when you have it for your own people and nobody else is allowed, it starts being just something that's pro your country.
Absolutely.
So
and here's the thing. We live in the greatest country in the world and all this blah blah blah. We see where our money goes. They tell us we can't have health care. They tell us we can't have schools. They tell us we can't have roads. Ultimately, if we can spend 9 plus trillion in Iraq and Afghanistan, if we can spend over $1 billion a day in this conflict, you're telling me we can't take care of our own people? And I give the example oftentimes of like, even if everyone here was just 400 pounds and fat, we just gave everyone free food. None of the food cost any money or hardly any money, even if it was like infinitely subsidized. But millions of people were still alive overseas, and these other countries didn't hate us. It's like I saw this account is probably like a Fed account or whatever. I'm sure he's not actually a Green Beret, but I saw this guy go, if you criticize the American soldiers or the American troops going over there to fight this war, you don't know what we're talking about. There's a world order that must be maintained, and men fight and die for that. And you're a soft man, you're a soft boy if you don't believe in that. And it's like, well, who set that system up? Who's okay with that? I'm not okay with that. No one I know is okay with that. The rest of the world isn't okay with that. And we had a deal. We had a deal where we were the benevolent, benign hegemon, the benign dictator. Everyone used our financial system. Everyone used the international routes because our ships protected them. That was just the established policy. And we pissed all of that away and threw it all away into the wind, especially Biden and Trump. Trump with the tariff weaponization, just the arbitrary nature of it all. Biden weaponizing SWIFT, of course, blowing up Nord Stream 2. We've shown, hey, European nations, you want to be our partner, you want to get in bed with us, you want to trust us. Well, we're going to blow up your pipeline. Oh, that's not enough for you. We're going to stop all shipping through the Strait of Hormuz. Where are you supposed to buy your energy? Oh, we got plenty of it. We got more from Venezuela. We just took over. How about we start giving you that, for an increased fee? And you look at these nations. I mean, I'm no fan of the European states. I despise them and what they're provoking and prolonging with when it comes to the Russian-Ukraine conflict. But at the end of the day, even the people that are our lapdogs are going to be forced to turn against us.
I mean, yeah. And as far as a couple of other things that I think are common sense that, I think we should do is definitely think, I didn't mention this. I definitely think the US needs to decouple from Israel. I think that we can have friendly
Of
relations,
course.
but what we have going now needs to just be completely done. I think that
Yes.
also all of this money that we consistently, not only just the corrupt things that, because it's not just foreign aid. I mean, there's crazy money that goes into everything, but just for uh an example, we gave $180 billion since February 2022 just to Ukraine. You go around all of the major metropolitan cities in America today. You take a place like a San Francisco or a Chicago, or maybe a city that was more popular a long time ago, like a St. Louis or something, and you just see true decay. But what you also see is the potential for greatness. So
Sure.
I think that if we were to just take some of this money that we're giving all these foreign countries for endless wars that don't benefit us, that none of our people ever see, it's just truly waste. If we started investing some of this money into some of our city centers and to actually invest in the proper policing to where we can make these areas safe again, make people want to live there, build again. It's like, man, we do have the greatest country in the world, but the truth is greed, laziness, apatheticness, just demoralization in every way. It's made us not hold on to the awesome, pearls that actually are contained within our country. And it's just so sad to see it when we waste so much money for everybody else, but then Americans can't get their very short list of things that we need, and we can't even maintain our cities or have them be safe. It
Well,
would be
Russell,
so easy to have private security, to have more police, to have a bolstered police presence on purpose in the 12 largest cities in the United States for a prolonged enough time to where we could actually make them great places to be again. They were great for a reason. And controlling immigration while adding more policing and actually investing in these areas, I think we could see a great American renaissance. But we're not doing anything to make it better. We're just worried about every other place, man. We're worried about countries and anti-Semitism and all other things besides
right.
just good old American ass kicking. What happened to that? What happened to
No,
hot chick driving in a sports car,
right.
fucking going to the baseball? You know what I'm saying? Like, what happened to like being badass Americans? Now we're just worried about all of these things, and it's just not what I remember. It's not what I want it to be. And we need to get back to doing things the American way, the way it should be.
Yeah. The foreign interest of like, oh, we always have to be in 8 different countries and we always have to be bombing at least 3 of them for anything good to happen in the world. We have to help places or liberate places. Look at what's happened to our own nation, and I think everyone feels this way. And it's like you say, it's just plainly obvious. Shouldn't we fight, a war over here on making everything better instead of making things worse in places that we don't know and don't understand? We're literally like we played the clips of all the fires and the explosions, particularly the oil explosions in Tehran in Iran. Like we're paying for death, fire, and murder. We're spending billions, trillions of dollars over the year on death, fire, and murder, instead of just basic things for people here at home. And they'll give you all these justifications. They'll tell you it's the world order. They'll tell you if we didn't do it, someone else is going to do it, and they're going to take the region, and we're better than them, and you like what we have, so you don't be ungrateful, and we're going to take it over. And all of this blah blah blah. It's just a completely fake narrative. They gaslight you. We invade other countries. We steal their resources. We kill their leadership. We install terrorists to replace them. We are the biggest state sponsor of terrorism, not Iran. I mean, this is some sort of sick joke or projection, is it not?
I mean, clearly, man, like I said, it's a war of choice. I think the fact that we preemptively strike the country that was in negotiations with us is wrong on many levels, just
Right.
openly. And I just think it's a continuation of a very disappointing administration. And at this point, it gets it's tiresome to even cover it and continue to evaluate what's going on, because it's just betrayal after betrayal after betrayal. And when I see them starting to strike actual civilian infrastructure, whether it's the school or whether it's the oil plant or some of the other places they've hit, it's just like the fact that I know more than likely the talks could be had and this could end.
Yes.
But we're choosing not to do it. And we're choosing to not only just continue it, but to escalate it. I just think it's so inexcusable. And I don't know. I could see this situation lasting probably even until the midterms. And who knows, maybe some of the things the leftists are worried about him claiming that the war, it can be used to not have a normal election or whatever. Maybe that could be done. I don't know. But
Yeah,
it's
very scary.
all of these things that I used to think were unreasonably bad outcomes that just were unlikely to happen, I'm now considering them. I couldn't even have imagined Trump dropping a nuke 10 days ago. But now the more this is going on, I see it as a realistic possibility. I really do. So I'm disappointed, but I will continue to pray for the best. And as much as I dislike him and what he's doing, I guess I pray that Trump gets, he wises up and pulls us out of here.
Well, what you just described, there's an archetype for it. It's found in Macbeth. Of course, Macbeth meets with the three witches, and they tell him, "No man born from his mother's womb can kill you." Right? And then Macbeth goes, "Okay, that's great," and he does what he does, and of course, he gets killed by a guy who was born by C-section. And that's kind of like this stuff with Trump. Like we laughed at it. We thought it was all BS. We thought that that's not based in reality. You're just a libtard. You're just a liberal. Well, it's kind of a monkey's paw thing. It looks like a lot of that stuff may end up actually happening, not for the reasons they described or elaborated on, not because he was a Russian agent necessarily. He was an agent of another country. It appears to have turned out to be the case. That's speculation, but that's what I believe is true. It's just, it's all very sick. I want to read for you this Trump tweet. This is the tweet where he says that, quote unquote, wars can be fought forever. And I want to read this. I want to take it in. And I want to get your take on it, because this is one of the many statements from him, but perhaps the statement as of the most recent one that has just made me my blood boil. The United States munition stockpiles have, at the medium or upper medium grade, never been higher or better. As was stated to me today, we know it's true now, we have a virtually unlimited supply of these weapons. Wars can be fought forever and very successfully using just these supplies, which are better than any other country's finest arms. At the highest end, we have a good supply, but not where we want to be. The precision guided munitions, we're running out of those. Much additional high-grade weaponry is stored for us in outlying countries. We're going to pull it from them and rape them for it. Sleepy Joe Biden spent all of his time and our country's money giving everything to P.T. Barnum Zelensky of Ukraine. Well, you're still giving him stuff, Donald. You're giving him more money, giving him more weapons. You're giving him targeting information so we can strike deep inside Russia with the Flamingo missile. hundreds of billions of dollars worth, and he gave it so much of it, the super high end, away for free, and he didn't bother to replace it. Fortunately, I rebuilt the military in my first term and continue to do so. The U.S. is stocked and ready to win big. Do you feel like we're winning right now, Dominic?
No, I think this guy, I think when he tweets, and if you're not a full cult member, he looks like a fucking psychopath. He looks like a lunatic.
Yes.
And what he's doing right now, amid numerous reports that our defense assets are extinguishing at a rapid pace, we are not. He's making an excuse. He's trying to make it. Well, no, we have plenty of defense. We have plenty of defense interceptors. When in reality, we're expending them at such a rate that many analysts say that we're not even going to be able to continue the war as it currently is today, using plenty of missiles, drones, etc. We're not going to be able to continue it for quite some time. So it's just getting to the point, man, where if people still believe this stuff, I start to really think a lot less about them. I do. You're not a critical thinker if you could just continuously go back to the bin of lying slop and willfully believe it. So he seems out of touch. He seems like a changed man. He seems like he's making terrible decisions. He is objectively betraying his base, his promises, and I'm sick of it. And I sure hope that people that have big voices start to tell the truth, because believe me, most of them think this as well.
Yes. And we got another beauty from the dear leader, President Trump, of course. President Trump on Saturday left open the possibility of sending ground troops into Iran if it were for, quote unquote, a very good reason. I would say if we ever did that, they would be so decimated they wouldn't be able to fight on the ground level, the president told reporters aboard Air Force One. We don't need to play the clip, but this is something, when this was initially happening, this was something, if you said this was going to happen, I had people in Suleiman space tell me, you don't know what you're talking about, boy, I'd never do that in the invasion. I mean, there's going to be a ground invasion. I think it's going to happen. It's going to be that or a nuke, and I think this is more likely. What do you think about that? We talked about it a little bit.
I think a ground invasion is a certainty. I think it'll maybe start with special forces. They'll say that they're doing, they're hitting key spots, strategic checkpoints, choke points, nuclear sites, things of that nature. But I think that's going to increase. And if it becomes to the point where they think it's going to be just a deadlock, kind of a not very productive standstill, I think they will use a tactical nuclear weapon. I don't think that it's going to get to the point where I don't think there's really any way for Iran to, like, quote unquote, win. Like, they can last for a very long time and continue to do what they're doing. But eventually, I think if they were to hit enough strategic spots, I feel like the U.S. is going to nuke them. I really do. So I think you're getting a ground invasion. I think the possibility of a nuclear weapon is very real. If I had to give you a number right now, I'd say 90% that there'll be U.S. ground forces in Iran. Next 30 days is generous. I think the next 2 weeks is more likely.
What's your timeline for, like, the Strait of Hormuz? What's going on there? Do you think that they're going to be able to do these United States naval escorts where we're ensuring the tankers? How do you think that that's going to go?
Well, I think that China and Russia have a huge interest, specifically China. I don't know if you noticed the oil prices in China have skyrocketed enough to where there's all special legal activity happening to restrict them from going any higher. But Iran has a lot of pressure on them to keep the Strait of Hormuz open for other reasons, so they can continue their relationships with other key allies they have in the region, specifically Russia and China. So I think the Strait of Hormuz is probably going to continue to at least have some access. I think if they were to shut it all the way, that would be a surefire guarantee that the U.S. Would escalate, probably do more ground forces, because they would want to take that over specifically. So I see there continuing to be limited capacity in the Strait of Hormuz, not all the way closed. And I see it basically being a war of attrition. Asymmetrical drones all the time, them continuing to kind of do the same thing they're doing, and the U.S. and Israel continuing to bomb. You're going to see more critical infrastructure, though. You're going to see more oil fields. You're going to see more civilian areas. You're going to see more desalination plants. because that's going to be the quickest way before they escalate again for Iranian leadership to start to negotiate. Because once their people truly start to suffer, most of the time leadership will make a deal.
Yeah. Yeah, but I think it truly is a situation though where this is kind of like the one in the dozen case where they're not going to fold. I don't anticipate it. Like if your country's on fire, they're saying they want to liberate you by destroying everything. Everything's burning. How does a rebellion or a resistance or some sort of coup or whatever kind of operation against the RGC, which would need to take place, need to happen? How does that happen when the entire country is on fire? How did they have contact with outside intelligence, and how do they make that happen?
See, I think that option is kind of off the board at this point. I think that the options
They were
are
so proud of it, though. They were so proud of that option. They were so proud of it.
well, they're not. Notice they're not talking about it anymore. So they talked about the Kurds for a little bit, but the Kurds over time have been largely ineffective. So that'll occupy some Iranian forces, but they're not enough to actually overthrow their government. So there's really only three outcomes, which is the US ground invading and doing a long, drawn out, like Iraq 2.0, could be 20 years, that type of a thing. It could be that we nuke them, or it could be that the Iran hits so many different like critical infrastructure points, like desalination plants in Saudi Arabia or hotels in Dubai, or continuing to hit other key allies like Bahrain or whoever else. That could maybe lead to a deal. But it's really the only way a deal is going to happen is intense damage and massive death on Iran, to the point where the leadership is concerned about just keeping as many civilians as alive as
population.
possible. That would be one, like total huge bomb, or the ground forces come in, wipe out a ton of people, a lot of civilians die, and they give up. That's one. The other way is the drone warfare continues to be effective. It causes so much regional upheaval that the Gulf countries successfully placate, or they successfully, beg the president to make a deal. And then there would be a more peaceful leader in Iran and all those things too. And then the third option, man, is we just completely fucking take them all the way out of the map. And it's like Libya 2.0.
I think that's what Netanyahu wants. I don't think Trump wants that necessarily, but I don't think Trump knows what he wants. I think he'll be told, and then he will obey and do whatever mission or objective is set out before him. I think that whole 47 years, 47th president thing is so sick, and these old boomers, they worship the numerology and the numbers and all of it. You know what's very interesting? I learned this in Chinese class, Ni Hao Wojia Rex. That's all I remember. But 47 is like the most unlucky number combination in all of like Chinese numerology. So it's pretty interesting. 47 years of the Iranian oppression or whatever, 47th president. I guarantee they have those huckster faith leaders and other such types around Trump to tell him that he is the chosen one for this mission that Netanyahu wants us to embark on. What do you think about the death numbers? I was going to ask you this because we say 6, they claim hundreds. Do you think that we're lying about that? Do you think the truth is yet to come out? Do you think it's accurate? What's your take on that?
So, security minister, what is his name? Ali Lariana, I believe his name is. He claimed today that there was U.S. soldiers captured. I saw from the foreign minister, Syed Arabas, I believe his name is. He said that there's, like you said, hundreds of casualties. I think that the number is higher than what the U.S. told us. Wouldn't surprise me if someone is captured, or a person or two. I think it's higher, man. I think that the damage that's been dealt to U.S. installations has been higher. I think that the U.S., the most clear example is they lied about the school. So if they lied about the school, of course they'd be willing to lie about the fact that 3 MQ Reaper drones, which are $40 million a piece, were taken down, or critical satellite infrastructure that is involved in missile interceptions was taken down in Saudi Arabia, or the CIA installation, or the U.S. consulate, or whatever it is. They're downplaying all of those things. And you're only able to get those through, like muckraking journalists that are actually willing to cover it. So they're covering up everything. They're lying. Like, we had 3 American pilots apparently 3 F-15s got shot down over Kuwait over the last 5 days, and they're saying it's friendly fire. That is very inconsistent with friendly fire. So we're just not getting the full story. And again, it's sad, man, because what we're dealing with is we're dealing with the government that is now being centered around one man's feelings. So, like, the
Yeah.
Defense Department is issuing statements based off how they think the president is going to take it. So everything has to be so aligned with it. Or even today, when they asked Trump on Air Force One about the school that was bombed, right after Trump said it was Iran, they asked Hegseth, and Hegseth said, we're still investigating it, because even that's too far for Hegseth.
Yeah, I'm looking at Suleiman's page right now. It looks like the Iranians have just gotten ready to or are launching another strike on Israel. So conflict continues to rage on, guys, even while we're talking about it. And that's the thing, is like, this is active, this is kinetic, this is happening right now. For someone like you, who's a news analyst and really doing a great job doing like ticker reporting on this whole crisis, on this whole war. How do you go about finding your news, finding your sources? How do you find things that are credible?
So, first of all, you need to actually follow regional news outlets in the area. So if you're interested in seeing news about the UAE, you need to locate the most credentialed accounts from people in the UAE, where you can actually get some of this stuff, to where, okay, this individual has posted enough things enough times where if he says it's posted at this location and this is what's happening, you can actually trust it. So you need to follow a lot of those regional outlets, whether it's like Al Arabiya or it's Al Jazeera, or whether it's some different Turkish news outlets, or whether it's Lebanese, or whether it's Israeli. I follow tons of Israeli news. I mean, like Axios, a lot of people don't even realize that Barak Ravid, the main is Israel-U.S. relations writer for Axios, is actually a Unit 8200 former Mossad guy. So, but them, Channel 11, Channel 12, Channel 13, N12, all those things in Israel, they're worth following, because oftentimes you will hear, especially you're going to hear about U.S. military intervention much before you hear it in the U.S. Like, I was hearing that we were going to be striking Iran long before, because Israeli media outlets and intel operatives kept saying it in Israeli media. So you need to be following Arab, different Israeli and a lot of other regional providers out there. That's the best way.
Sure. I'm going through things right now. I was trying to pull up one example here just of this Penn State poll, because I wanted to ask you a question on like what your knowledge is on the domestic situation in Israel, and how they're taking all of this.
Majorly
Because
in
obviously,
favor for it. Majorly in favor of it. One of my
yeah,
biggest criticisms of Owen is when he talks about, no, they're in the bunkers, they care so much. It's like, dude, 93% of them are in support of this. Believe me. They always say it was a 47-year, it's an existential war for Israel. It's like their main heavyweight fight. If you show me statistics saying that's different, I'll be shocked. Because the
no,
approval
I'm
should be
not. I'm
very
pulling
high.
up the Penn State poll where 63% of them believe in the biblical genocide of the Amalek, and then 82% of them support the mass expulsion of all Arabs from their land, which of course we know like is just a fact. Like these things aren't debatable. The whole thing to me that's so outrageous about the war, and I was trying to use the article to make a point, but every single thing is behind a paywall. Right, I need to subscribe to more newspapers so I can go ahead and get through. I need a Haaretz subscription because they provide good coverage. It's
Dude,
probably the best,
just
the
Google
best.
remove paywall. You got it.
Yeah, I'll do it. I'll do it. But my thing is, they want to say Iran is the evil theocracy. What's the thing Lindsey Graham always says? The supreme leader is a religious Nazi. He's a religious Nazi, and he has to be dealt with. We got to get rid of him. He's a new Hitler. At the end of the day, there's one group of people that have nuclear weapons and have threatened to use them. And there's one group of people that have committed a genocide set as a biblical justification. There's one people that are doing settler colonialism and expansion with our own money. The settlers get paid to colonize the West Bank with American taxpayer money. There are grants to them to do this. And then suddenly Iran has a supreme leader who has a fatwa banning the nuclear weapon. They consider it to be a crime against God. They have modernized cities. The women aren't bonked over the heads when they don't wear the hijab, which is an example I often give. Even if they were, it's not worth a invasion that kills God knows how many people. But we're told that we have to support one theocracy and that it's actually a secular democracy in the Middle East. And this other thing, this Islamic Republic that seems to actually have at least somewhat of a representative government, that's evil. It must be destroyed. It's just the hypocrisy for me. I can't take it anymore.
Well, yeah, they're also the only undeclared nuclear power in the entire world. And they also are the only city where they can effectively hit every major city center across the world with their new Jericho 3 ICBM. So,
That's nice.
say it again.
That's nice.
That's what I'm saying. And they're not only that, but their aspirations to take over the entire region, the Greater Israel Project, is absolutely for real. And if you pay close attention to many Israeli reports and accounts, you'll notice that they're already talking about old Turkey. They already want Turkey, Rex. It's like we're taking Iran. We already fucked up Syria. We're taking half of Syria and Lebanon. Jordan and Egypt are completely cucked. It's like everything is lined up for their exact plan. And if you think it's a joke, they wear the Greater Israel patch on their military uniform, and it's for a reason, because that's what they're fighting for. And the U.S. is the muscle that's carrying it out for them. So, but how dare you? You're a pathetic anti-Semite scumbag if you actually espouse any resistance to this. So
yeah, look at this. Look at this comment in the live chat from Ivan Langley. My boomers uncles think nuking the enemy is okay and that this is from God. It's unbelievable. Death jabs have done their work. Yeah, man. I've heard this. I've heard this from many people, man. Many old people. They think this way.
Yeah, it's here. I got a story. I'll go to my Twitter real quick and see if I can find it.
Just send it to me. I'll throw it up. Just DM it to me and I'll throw it up real quick.
It just says, give me a minute. I apologize. Oh, U.S. military commanders across numerous bases have reportedly told troops the Iran war is part of biblical prophecy to initiate the end times.
Yes.
And I heard it was through a nonprofit organization for military religious freedom. These were formal complaints that was filed by this organization. It was across 40 different units. So soldiers across 40 separate units. So this isn't just one crazy military commander. This is 40. And they are all telling them things consistent of, well, this is the war for the future of Israel. All of those things. It's unbelievable, but it's true.
Israel. Gog and Magog have entered the fight.
But just think about this. Like,
you must get ready to die for Israel. Sorry, I like doing the good old boy voice.
Instead of us actually fighting this war for pragmatic reasons that benefit our country, which, look, there's many things I don't agree with that we do, but they may actually have some sort of benefit, and I can see the argument. On this one, I don't even see the argument. It's exclusively for Israel, which makes it exceptionally inexcusable. We're not even doing it for ourselves. Everyone needs to keep repeating that to themselves. We are doing this only for Israel. When you ask a specialist, what is the strategic benefit or what is the U.S. going to get out of this feasibly, what's the answer? There's no clear answer, and they all are unable to manufacture one.
I want to read this. I want to read this for the audience because you just relayed it, and that was powerful. But we're going to go from the source material. I want this to sink into everyone's brain. Or I want you to think about religious liberty, separation of church and state, justifiable conflicts, and everything that this violates. I'm going to read this to you right now. A combat unit commander told non-commissioned officers at a briefing Monday that the Iran war is part of God's plan and that President Trump was, quote unquote, anointed by Jesus to light the signal fire in Iran to cause Armageddon and mark his return to Earth, according to a complaint by a NCO. From Saturday morning through Monday night, more than 110 similar complaints about commanders in every branch of the military had been logged by the MRFFF. Just sit with that for a second and think about that. And think about how that's an utter violation of everything our nation stands for. Utter perversion of it, really. because one nation under God is supposed to mean taking care of our people, giving people rights enshrined by God, not killing people and murdering people in other countries. And Jesus doesn't want that. I don't want to speak for God, but I can tell you right now, Jesus doesn't want a country to burn down. He doesn't want little girls to die in the school. Wow.
Look, man, if you don't want the little girls to die in the school, you're a fucking anti-Semite, bro. I'm kind of matter of fact, I don't know. I might have to cut this short. I was so anti-Semitic that you oppose war and don't want little children to die that I don't even know if I can be on the show anymore. But yeah, I mean,
that's right.
That's, you know, that like dead seriously, if you said, well, hey, you know, I have a huge problem with the fact that we killed these little girls. I think this is an atrocity, and I think the United States should not be supporting this. We're not Israel. A person that's super pro-Israel will dead ass look you straight in the eye and say, so you support terrorism, huh? And it's plainly to that response. Just saying, hey, you know, for pragmatic reasons, I oppose this war. I think that the U.S. should have nothing to do with Israel. I think it's disgusting that we bomb these children and that we're bombing, you know, their ability to get fresh water. I think it's disgusting. And they would say, well, you know, things happen in war, so you support terrorists? That's what their fucking response is, because they have nothing logical to say, because they're morally, ideologically inconsistent in every single way. And everything they say is an excuse, and it's an illusion and a lie. So it's just wrong that we're doing this. And the people that say otherwise, they're just misinformed or they're a cult member.
Yep. Yeah. And you think about every parent that dropped their kid off that day to go to school, and they weren't thinking about this. Maybe they were even thinking about the negotiations. Maybe they were even thinking about that. And then boom, they're all dead. Hundreds of them dead. And then it's like you say, someone that's rabidly pro-Zionist, they will give you a defense of that position. Of course, it's not logical. Of course, it's insane. But they will say, we had to do it. We had to do it. Iran was going to have a nuclear weapon. We had to do it. We had to do it. The supreme leader is a religious Nazi. We had to do it. We had to do it. We're liberating them. We're saving them. You think that liberating and saving people means murdering them? Murdering them unprovoked. And it's 2 times in a row. Israel did this to start the 12-day war. It's all the same thing. The Hamas leadership, they go to Doha to negotiate. They get struck. It's all the same thing. That's how we operate.
Did you see Trump recently? One of his last pressers he did, when asked, because they want a clarification, because people were very upset about the answer that Marco Rubio gave, because like even people like my mom, who, you know, is old, you know, love you, mom, but you know, she's getting up there, and she even was like, did he just say that we bombed them for Israel? Like even she was not happy about that. So Trump comes out and says, oh, well, they were going to have a nuke in 2 weeks if we didn't take action now. And it's like, all right, so we're seriously going with that again. We're going with, they were going to have a nuke. They did the girls. I don't know if you saw his recent statement saying, oh, they chop up women and chop the chop
babies' heads off. And what about the babies in incubators, Donald, in Kuwait?
Just like she's bragging about, like, oh, I listen, you know, I talk to the president every day, like, oh, after the president bombed Iran, he called me right afterwards. It's like, bro, he's spitting the same lines as Laura Loomer at this point. Like, MAGA literally is like what Loomer's saying, Mark Levin, Ben Shapiro, everybody that's literally your least favorite conservative commentator or person is like the most elevated people now.
It's worse than you say. After the Iran bombing, I'm going to see if I can find it here on the computer. He calls Loomer.
That's what I just said.
Okay, that's what you said. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
Sometimes cuts
out. No, I saw the clip. I'd rather look. What I've learned is, and I usually keep myself sort of free of a ton of conflict from this. I try to really go after issues. I try not to go after people, even if I find them terrible in every way. I disagree and really don't like a lot of the stuff Laura Loomer posts. I don't interact with it because my belief is that interacting with it just promotes it even more. So I just don't.
We don't have to throw it up. I'm just saying it's representative.
I don't even mean in this instance. I just meant like if there's a post I hate from someone, I always just let it slide, because to me it's like I don't need their energy coming after me and shit. I just want to do my thing, focus on the news. And, you know, if I got a disagreement with somebody on a podcast or something, sure, I'll say it. I mean, I'll say if somebody sucks. But at the same time, I try not to like really say it too much directly to them, because it's a waste of energy that I need to actually cover this crazy shit, which requires more attention than really I even like to admit. It sucks, quite
Sure.
frankly.
Man, I got to look for more stuff for us to talk about, and I just see images of like dead kids, and I'm just like, what are we even doing here, man? What are we even doing here? And people will justify this. Like these are all people that wouldn't have been dead if we had just proceeded through with the negotiations. And it's like you said, they were willing to concede on the uranium, and they're literally they're signatory to the NPT. They're signatory to the Non-Proliferation Treaty. It's beyond anything. They have a religious order against having nuclear weapons. It's all totally fake. And we killed the one guy that was interested in maintaining that. So it's just it's beyond anything. We sit here, and I want to thank you because you do really good coverage, and you've been keeping me and a lot of other people informed on the current situation and what's been going on. Of course, to the best of your ability and everyone's ability covering this. Nothing is certain. It's all fog of war at the end of the day. But I think the normal person, the normal American person that's just used to having prices go up and used to having no agency and used to really not understanding or not knowing what's going on deliberately by design, I think it's the job of people, even if it is an echo chamber, even if it is online, just in real life too. It's a job for everyone listening to talk to people that they know, to talk to people that they love, friends, family, acquaintances, coworkers, anybody, and to really ask them, "Hey, are you okay with this? Are you okay with the straw that broke the camel's back?" Because that's what this is, and it ain't no straw; it's a giant metal beam, and it's coming to crush all of us. And if this doesn't stop miraculously somehow in like the next week or two, it's over.
Yeah, well, it's quickly it's snowballing. It's not just something that people are only talking about on X. More and more people are talking about what's going on. I mean, many people had a bad taste in their mouth with the war on terror, if you will. And those
Sure.
memories are going to last with people for quite a long time. So, look, if he doesn't find a way to lower the temperature or to start negotiations or to de-escalate in some other way, I think that it's only going to get more and more unpopular with people. I think that the likelihood that he is impeached is greatly increases, and I think ultimately the midterms and all the other political matters associated with Trump, all of them are going to be negative and bad. I think this is the worst move that Trump has made over any of his any of his terms, and I think ultimately, depending on his actions moving forward, this may very well defy his legacy. And I think his legacy has really taken a ton of damage in this second term because, boy, being known as the political outsider champion, trying to take down special interests, and a man that was really representing the American people and sort of just symbolized the struggle of the common middle America working man. He was that dude, man. He was the
He
man.
was.
And the way that he has presented himself now, it's almost like you have more respect for an open enemy than you do for someone that was on your team, that you entrusted in, that you loved, that you were betrayed by. So I
Sure.
think now, you see people like Nick talking about going for the Democrats and stuff. And look, you rather have an ugly girlfriend than a chick that cheated on you and broke your heart into pieces. And,
True.
and I kind of think that
100%.
that's where he's coming from. And I just hope that I think it's too late for change. I think that Trump is going to be what he's going to be. And at this point, I hope to God that there's a miracle that kind of takes us off of this crazy train.
Yeah, and it's super sad. It's super tragic. I mean, me and you, like, I voted for him twice. The first election, I wasn't old enough to vote for him, but I mean, we loved and believed in this guy, and we saw him as the embodiment of that American zeitgeist of wanting to change, wanting that wrecking ball to the system. When in fact, he was just the capstone. I mean, we have Dominic who says it's the craziest fumbling of a bag of all time. I agree. It's the greatest riches to rags story ever. Because you look at coming in after 2024, the Republicans had a mandate to lead, to win, to get reelected for 1,000 years because for once they actually had a winning political platform. If they had done all the things they promised to do, they would have won infinite elections. We wouldn't be talking about any of this stuff today. It's the fact that they did the exact opposite of their platform, and then they're telling you that the opposite of the platform is now their platform, and shut up racist, or shut up anti-Semite, or shut up anti-American, anti-patriot. No one's going to be there at the fundraisers, at the galas, at the events, at any of it. in just the midterms, just the next election, it's going to be over. MAGA is going to be a ghost town, and Trump's going to have no one but himself to blame for it. And the American public is going to be, I think the good thing to come out of this, and we always have to look for a good thing, is that people are going to be hyper aware and hyper vigilant and are not going to be willing to get sold down the river again. It's either that or everyone's just totally apathetic and exhausted, and we sleepwalk ourselves into just authoritarian hellhole. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think something will happen domestically that will force a change in the population. I think the population will wake up. I think the AI won't be done yet. I think the automated systems won't be done yet, and I think people will choose sovereignty over slavery. What's your take on the future?
So one thing I think that's interesting that a lot of people aren't taking into account is, so you had mentioned your age. You weren't old enough to vote for him in the first term. And like what I can tell you is, as far as this new incursion into the Middle East, for people like me, to give you an idea, I believe I was in 8th grade when the Twin Towers were hit in New York City in 2001. And the moment that happened to me, I was smart and pretty inquisitive, open-minded young man. And when that happened, a few years later, when I was in high school, things like Loose Change 9/11 and like some of these like beginning truth documentaries came out, which many of the things in them have been disproven. But there was one by like a National Architect Association, and it was talking about the nanothermite, and it was talking about all the inconsistencies with the 9/11 thing. And it first entered my mind of like, holy shit, man. Like there really is something here, and we really are not being told the government version of the story. And there's a lot of people that are not boomers, but that are older than you, that probably have even more intensified, very negative
Sure.
connotations associated with our current Iran war, because we saw directly how it impacted daily life and how it impacted legislation moving forward. I mean, people, they often will bring this up, but what immediately followed the September 11th attacks was the Patriot Act. And then,
Yes.
of course, we had the never-ending Middle East wars, and we had the clean break memo and all these things that came before it, which sort of set the footprint for what we're doing. And we are right now just seeing the more advanced later stages of the table that was set way back then. And so, like, for me, who already was against, George W. Bush and what we did in Iraq and the never-ending wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, for me to witness it after the thing that sparked my interest in politics was the September 11th attacks as a young man, 13, 14 years old. I mean, to see this all coming down full circle and to see Trump being the one that's bringing it down on us, it is so fucking disappointing. And I am truly sickened by these people that pretended to have all these principles, pretended to be patriots of this country, pretended to be truth tellers that actually truly seemed to be genuine and cared. To see them flip the script and just be a slave for this bastard, it just makes me sick, man. And honestly, like, this MAGA movement, because of what it has become, it needs to end. It needs to end so we can move on to a cause and to a person that righteously and authentically wants to bring us the principles of the original MAGA promise, because we're being fucked and we're being betrayed and everybody knows it. But all this money and this power and this damn app and this algorithm is trying to convince you that what your eyes are telling you is not true.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that we all have to be aware that there's a giant psyop being run on this whole thing to convince us that our system of government is somehow normal, and it's a complete abomination to the entire like thesis of what the country is, what the Constitution is, what the Bill of Rights is. You were talking earlier about, and I asked you the question of like what's a shortcut sheet or a short list of things that you're looking for a change, things you'd like to see implemented by new leadership in the country. And one thing you touched on was the internet. We really need a digital bill of rights, and it's far overdue. It's far overdue. The time is now. The time has come. We need a digital bill of rights. We need to ensure that Americans aren't being spied on, that Americans aren't being propagandized, that Americans aren't being lied to. and that there are serious repercussions and ramifications for companies that engage in that type of algorithmic manipulation of people to serve ultimately, a foreign power or just a war interest in general. And I think that what it takes is everyone uniting on agreeing that we care about our families, our children, our friends, our siblings, everyone, and that we don't want little kids to get murdered or hurt or raped by anyone. And we certainly don't want a powerful elite class of people that do all of these things and meet in secret. We certainly don't want them to stay in power and to continue to do these things because, like, I remember a time when I was a kid, people often ask me a question like, what was it like growing up with Alex as your dad? Did liberals that hate on you, they come after you, have to deal with blue haired trendies? There's some of that for sure, especially after Trump. And that was just a different time becoming a teenager and politics really shifted in the country. I grew up with people that would not let me go over to their kids' houses because of what my dad said about 9/11. I grew up with the neocons, and I remember what that was like. I do have a taste for it in my mouth that I'm tasting the same exact thing right now. It fills the air. It's the neocon spirit, and I thought that was dead in the country. I thought that Trump killed it, but he has resurrected it. And instead of it's like Iron Man. Like he pulls out like the America first. He pulls out the pro liberty. He pulls out the truth, and he replaces it with the slop cube. He replaces it with the neocon war engine. He
Ha-
gets the new power
have
source
you
from
ever
Netanyahu, and then he's running around embodying that energy. That's how I look at it.
have you ever seen Game of Thrones?
Sure.
All right, you know who the Mad King is?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Well, basically, the Mad King started off being like a handsome baller. He had the sword, he had the babes. He was the man. Like he was like the equivalent of like a younger Donald Trump. He was the king of New York and all that fun stuff. But in his older age, when he had a lot of power, he started getting like more demented and doing more power hungry or self-serving or corrupt or think moralist deeds and actions. And I think that Donald Trump has had a lot of power and arrogance for a long time. I think this specific, this administration, this time when he won the election, he surrounded himself around people. And I actually just saw this report today. I can't remember where it came from, but it was talking about how his cabinet is essentially ran like a one-man dictatorship because people are so fearful of even any pushback or any constructive criticism is labeled as dishonor. And then people feel that they're going to lose their job. So what we're getting is that we're not getting any sort of effective advising. We're not getting any constructive suggestions as far as, hey, President Trump, I think that, this is very risky militarily. We should probably go like it about, in this manner. What we're getting is just people acquiescing to exactly what they think that he wants to hear. And our own military decisions and many of our policies, they're bearing that to be true. So it's a
Wow.
one-man king, dude. It's a king and he's calling the shots bad. When a king is great, it's the most efficient way that you can govern because there's no impediment. It's all streamlined. You want whatever you want, it's going to be law. But when a guy goes bad, boy, he goes bad.
Yeah. Yeah, the analogy that I've been giving on this show is the analogy or the old children's story of the emperor with no clothes, and I compare the emperor to being America and the tailor to being the state of Israel. Right in America, it's decked out in the finest jewelry, the finest garb, the finest clothing, the finest shoes, all of it. And what does that represent? That represents our military might, that represents our economic power, that represents our global influence. Right? And Israel comes along and they say, "Hey, look, you look phenomenal. You look great. I'm the best tailor imaginable. I make things so fine you can't even see them." And then Trump goes, "Well, that's phenomenal. That's unbelievable." And then he trades off everything. He gives everything away because he's getting the imaginary promises of the great union and the strongest alliance and the chosen people and all of it. He just gets given more and gets given more and gives away more and gives away more. And eventually the king is in a parade. And the parade, in my analogy, is in the war because all the other subjects and citizens of the world, all the other nations get to see the king in action. They get to see the king walk around and flaunt his power. And when before they were impressed and awed by the fine regalia and the fine garments and all of it, they see the king as naked. That's where we are right now, and the entire world sees it. even if we still got a pair of underwear on, they can see us.
Well, yeah, and the thing too that's going bad about this war is that this whole image that we have of being such a supreme global power. It's like, hell, man, we can't even take Iran out in a couple days. It's like we're
Right.
kind of looking a little bit humiliated when these Gulf countries and key allies that we've given endless security guarantees to, we can't even sufficiently protect. And then all these reports about defense efficiencies and just inconsistencies and a lack of planning. Look, America's looking bad right now. Anybody could go in that's a major military power and kick the shit out of Venezuela. But right now, when we're actually like understand that Iraq and Afghanistan, especially Afghanistan didn't even really have a formal army. It was like dudes literally in the desert and mountains. So we're actually facing a pretty formidable opponent right now. And what are you seeing happening? It's just a shame. And I really hope, again, that, maybe Trump will be the one that realizes that this just isn't going our way. But with Netanyahu, I don't really see where there's going to be an off ramp here. And the more intense or the more frequent military action done against civilian areas and things, the less likely that a talk is going to actually.
And the Israeli president, he came out. I think I retweeted the video. I'll send it to you after the stream. I thought it was shocking. The Israeli president's like, yeah, Trump or the American government, they're telling us we need to give Bibi a pardon. And we need things domestically to happen here for that to be the case. But we are getting this input. I'm paraphrasing, but this is what's going on. I mean, you look at Bibi in his position before October 7th, massive corruption charges, indicted. And then you look at him go double down and he starts that illegal occupation and invasion. And then he goes even further. He gets warrants from the ICC and the ICJ. He doesn't care. He gets us to start this war in Iran, and now he's going to be pardoned, it looks like.
Well, yeah. I mean, we already know that for the highest echelon of people, I mean, the laws are really just more
it's a joke.
Yeah, he's going to get pardoned. He'll do whatever. I mean, the fact that he hasn't already been is only because there's probably a section of Israeli society that hates him. So they're probably just trying stuff like that at this point. I don't even pay attention to it because we already know he's not going to face any consequences. He'll be pardoned.
This is what I was referencing earlier. This is the Penn State poll. Erase Amalek poll reveals mass Israeli support for expulsion, genocide of Palestinians. And you look at these numbers. The poll found that 82% of Jewish Israelis support expelling Palestinians from Gaza and 56% back the expulsion of Arab citizens of Israel. To the question, do you support the idea that the IDF, when conquering an enemy city, should act as the Israelites did under Joshua and Jericho by killing all of its inhabitants? Almost half of the respondents say yes.
Think about
that's their MAGA.
Think about how extreme that really is. And this is wild. Like when I would get in arguments sometimes with Owen, because Owen would say like, there are so many Israelis that do not want this. And it's like, dude, really? That's not true. Like, it's just simply not true. Sure. You could even find studies from when the conflict in Gaza was at its height, and something like only 2% of this poll claimed that they were using too much ammunition or they were being too aggressive towards Gaza. And so it's like, no, this is a country that largely has a shared ideology. It is an ethno state, and they want regional hegemony. They want to take over Iran. So that's again why it's like, okay, well, we understand Israel's interest and what their plan was from the onset, but how does this benefit the United States? And that's the question. The most critical question of any war is, why the fuck are you fighting it? And it's the one answer that we are not actually able to get from the president or from our own government. And it's inexcusable.
It's absolutely
inexcusable. I'm just going to keep saying it till I'm blue in the face. It's just fucking inexcusable.
Well, that's the thing, and that goes back to the foundations of war and things that people like Clausewitz said. Like, you have to know your objectives. You have to know what you're fighting for. You have to understand the civilization that you're fighting. And we've just waded on into this with complete, utter disregard for any of that because we say we've got the best technology.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, man, we're just making excuses to remain in it. I think most people know that it's nonsensical, and we'll see. Tonight is Saturday night. It seems like, I don't know if this administration does it purposefully, but it seems like the very worst things that happen are always happening on the weekend or in the evening, or better yet,
Yep.
both. So, like, you just even saw that major oil depot that's on fire and looking apocalyptic. And when did they do that? They did it on a Saturday when most people aren't paying attention. So, sure, some Twitter diehards, some journalists, some people like me and you will see it. But are people like my parents or people that are just doing something on a Saturday night casually seeing that? No.
No.
And they do that strategically and purposefully, in my view. So, I mean, at this point, you do something a few times, it might be random, but this is a repeated thing. This is a habit. They're doing this on purpose.
Sure. And I mean, I don't see how people say that someone like JD or someone like Rubio is electable. And you still see these conversations. People go, well, I think Rubio is really going to do good. I really like him. I think he's being tough. You say, no, I like JD. JD's my guy. And, he's chosen by President Trump and he's going to be the next leader. I'm just like, do you hear yourselves? I mean, you're looking at a situation where these are going to be kind of Jeb Bush like candidates. Sure, they may initially pull at like 28 or 30%. Someone is going to come along who's against this. And here's the thing, even if there is a baseline support in the chud base of either party to be behind these things, particularly the Republican Party, if you get people on a debate stage, if there is a candidate that is able to argue these positions, able to argue being anti-war, being anti-death, being able to call out people and saying, hey, you people lied and you're pro-death, you're pro-murder, you're pro-slaughter, both of American soldiers and foreign people that didn't do anything to America, that weren't aggressing upon America, and you're doing it at the behest of a foreign government. I don't think we've ever been at the point before where someone will be brave enough to say something like that. But because of the free credibility that is on the table, waiting for anybody to just take it, this is like, it's like being against the war in Iraq, right? And that got Trump elected in 2016. I think someone's going to see that and recognize the value of that position, and they're going to take it.
Yeah, we'll have to see. I mean, the biggest impediment to a new figure or power broker rising in the Republican Party will be just the cult, man. Like, they're going to be very, very skittish about supporting someone like a Matt. Like, there's not very many people we have. A lot of people like to point to like a
Yeah,
Massey or MTG or something like that. I mean, look, if you get like a Thomas Massey, a whole hell of a lot of MAGA is not going to want to vote for him. Now, they're not going to vote for a Democrat either, but I don't know. Like I said, until just this completely just this until this corruption is rooted out of the government anyways, I don't pretend to care like whoever wins is going to make that much of a difference. So I hope for it to be a unique, innovative candidate, someone like a Massey, but I don't know. We'll see what happens. My head's not even there for right now. I want to see what happens with the remainder of this war. That could change a lot of the political headwinds coming forward. So let's just kind of evaluate, and we'll sort of go from there. It's right now, it's too hard to tell because there could be a dark horse candidate or somebody pretty interesting that decides to run, and it could change the whole thing. So I don't know.
for
Maybe
sure.
we'll see that. I hope so.
My mind just always gravitates towards the domestic political situation because that's where my expertise and knowledge base really resides. Like I think I have a pretty good finger on the pulse for the American zeitgeist and the American culture. I kind of see how media works, and I know that you do too. And I just wanted to laser in and focus on that. Obviously, everything is up in the air. The gravity's turned off. The floor is lava. We're in space time rules now, uncharted territory. Nobody knows what's going to happen. Nobody knows what's going to go on except more fire, more explosion, more death. The entire Levant is on fire. Our bases are on fire. Our embassies are on fire. Iran is on fire. Their oil industry is burning. They're launching missiles. Yemen is reportedly in the fight as well, as is Lebanon. Israel is striking Lebanon. Of course, as Beirut has been really, really hammered during the entire course of this conflict. We've covered it tonight, and just I want to give you one more chance to go back into it. What are the things that people need to be following right now? You talked about local and regional news and being aware of those media sources. What stories themselves, what developing situations on the ground in the theater of war do people need to keep an eye on?
I mean, I would continue looking at Bahrain and Kuwait specifically because they're being attacked with such frequency where there's seemingly a fire at our own embassy like every day. So, Kuwait's been a major ally of ours for a long time. Throw the UAE in there too, because again, it's like it just basically pay attention to the Gulf countries continuing to be attacked. Because if they are continued to be attacked to the intensity with the frequency they have been, the chances that some of them maybe say that they're no longer going to have as good relations with Israel, or maybe they say that some of these $1 trillion investments that they've agreed with the U.S. they're going to have to reconsider. It will put pressure on the U.S. to end the conflict in the most peaceful way possible, because again, these are these people's Muslim brothers and sisters, whether they're Shiite and Sunni or not. So I think just pay attention to how hard the Gulf countries continue to get hit, because the harder they continue to get hit, the higher the likelihood is they pressure the Trump administration and Israel to de-escalate.
Wow. Yeah, man. I just want to thank you again for doing phenomenal coverage. I've really used you as one of my main news resources for things coming out with the fog of war and everything we talked about. Being hesitant about posting footage. I think that you do a really good job of just posting confirmed news sources and breaking news updates. Everyone should follow you at DMT at Dominic Michael Tripley or Trippy. How do you say your last name? How do you pronounce it? Let me get it right.
It's just like if you were talking about like a 70s hippie, just add TR on the front of that. Trippy.
Trippy. Okay, I
Trippy,
got you.
Trippy.
I got you. Yeah, you're gonna want to go to his page. You're gonna want to follow him. Really does a phenomenal job on reporting, on breaking news updates, on all of it. I think this has been a great conversation. I always really enjoy it when I'm able to stream with you or do a show with you. We've had you on the Sunday Marquee show as well, the Gray Area show, and I just thank you so much for being here and for just sharing some time with me, sharing some insight with me. I think our audience really liked it tonight, and I hope that they seek you out more.
Well, my pleasure, my friend. I don't even do interviews really anymore because people are psychopaths. But whenever I get a chance to talk to a real G that knows what he's talking about, that I know is a nice guy, this is a cool guy off the camera too. This is a great dude. So no, I
Appreciate it.
appreciate you just as much as the praise you just gave me, man. And I look forward to cracking this thing open and trying to sort of put this puzzle together as this conflict develops over time, my friend.
Sure. Well, I've been live every day. I've made it a mission to go live every day, especially with this conflict going on. I know you're always posting updates. I know you're always staying aware. We want to be a place for people to, be a part of a conversation, to stay informed, to stay updated on the situation that's going on right now, and just news in general and life in general. We like being here for you guys. So really, you're going to want to follow him on X if you don't already. Thank you so much for being here tonight, man. I really appreciate you.
Absolutely. And hey, whenever something really pops off and I see that you're live, maybe I'll give you a buzz. And if there's something that's a noteworthy or worthwhile breaking development, we can kind of do a little breaking news scoop, Rex exclusive. So
Yes, please. Yes,
I'll be
please.
in I'll be in touch. And no, man, I appreciate the kind words. Thanks for having me on. Always a pleasure.
For sure. Well, I'm sitting here in my kitchen. I'm always ready. It's just a phone call or a text. I'll come downstairs and we'll get started. We'll get on stream. Thank you so much, man.
Perfect. See you soon, buddy. Take it easy.
Awesome. God bless you. Well, that was awesome. And I'll throw up his page again, Dominic Michael Trippy. You're going to want to go ahead and follow him on X if you don't already. My dog is in the studio now. He's looking at me. What's up, Rupert? You go, boy. You go, buddy. Well, you want to go. You're going to want to go ahead and follow him on X. And yeah, I mean, that's the show for tonight. No, you can't have the Snickers bar. It's empty. Snickers is gone. Can't have nicotine either. It's not allowed. The dog tries to get nicotine pouches. He knows that they're good. But thank you all. See, he's hitting the camera. Thank you all for being here tonight. I appreciate it. From AC, I'll read some comments. We'll talk to you guys. AC, love that interview. Thank you, man. Yeah, no, he's phenomenal. He's really a great dude and really has a mind for these things. Thank you, T. Blett. Thank you, Ivan Langley. Thank you, California King. Thank you, Dominic. Thank you. Got a lot of comments. Thank you, everyone that was here tonight. I really appreciate it. Catch me live tomorrow, Marquee Show, Gray Area. Me and Tim Tompkins, of course, the great Tim Tompkins, are being joined by the great Harrison Smith. So you're going to want to be here at 7:30. I think he's going to join us at 8, maybe 7:45. Going to be another great show. I'm sure there'll be more live news updates. I'm sure Tim will have a phenomenal deep dive. We haven't covered what it'll be yet, but you're going to want to stay tuned, stay updated. Thank you for being here tonight on the Gray Area. Dude, whatever. I'm live. I can do whatever I want. I'm angry. I've had enough of these people. They're a bunch of Christian murdering scum running giant death factories, keeping babies alive and selling their body parts. What more do you need to know about these people? I go out and face these scum. They literally crawl out from under rocks. They have green looking skin and they run around screaming, "We love Satan. We want to eat babies." I have them on video. Hillary's into creepy, weird, sick stuff, man. She sleeps in the same room with that creepy, weirdo woman whose mother wears a hood over her head. What the hell? That woman number one is ugly. Imagine how bad she smells, man. I'm told her and Obama just stink. Obama and Hillary both smell like sulfur. They're gonna stab your daughter at the mall. Oh, ooh, they gonna stab your wife, your son. Ooh, they gonna stab him with the butcher knife. Then the police chief is gonna say, "We love our Somalis. We love our Muslims. Oh, they so good. Oh, they so sweet." And that's Alex Jones raps as an indie folk song that's on YouTube. It's got like 33 million views. Thank you for being here tonight. Peace.
Modern life has left us out of balance. Long ago it was once said, certain remedies could grant a man the vitality of a horse. For over 6,000 years, these natural remedies have been harvested and tested by generations. Why create complex formulas when nature's roots are still in our hands? Try Primal Core. Ancient remedies for modern life.